Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Manhattan Community Board 3 full board meeting for the month of October 2021. I want to thank you all for attending CB3's full board meeting. And I would like to remind everyone that tonight's meeting is being recorded. At this time, we welcome non-board members to sign in with their name and affiliation, if applicable, in the chat box. So if you belong to an elected official's office, you sign your name into the chat box. Tonight, our chat will be used only for signing in, material distribution, and technical issues only. Please do not use the chat box to have private conversations or any negative conversation. If you are experiencing any technical issues, please reach out via chat and the facilitator will reach out to assist. To reduce background noise, we ask that you please stay muted unless you are recognized to speak. Please understand that we see you in your homes and we hear you in your homes, so we ask that you please stay on mute. All private conversations should be kept private. And if you're not wearing boxer shorts, that's none of our business. Just had to throw that out there. Okay, now we're going to get started with our public session. And I have a few people that are signed up to speak tonight. So we're just going to go in the order I call you. And I apologize in advance if I do not pronounce your name properly. Please forgive me. So we're going to go ahead. Okay, so we have an announcement from Amani Vieira from FAB. Amani, are you here? Let's see.
I do not see Amani.
I don't see Amani. Let's see, attendees. No.
Yeah, Amani Vera.
Yeah. Oh, she's there. Yeah, she says
She's there.
Okay.
Hi.
Okay. Hi, Imani.
Hi, everyone. I'm Imani. I'm the Senior Programs Manager at FAB NYC. I just want to share 2 upcoming opportunities for CB3 residents. The Lower East Side Community Culture Council, also known as LESCCC, and Young Artists of Color Fellowships. Applications for both open November 1st. The LESCCC is open to LES residents who are interested in strengthening opportunities for Lower East Siders to connect, enjoy, and participate in local arts and culture in the neighborhood. Meetings take place on a monthly basis with the addition of free monthly field trips to local arts and culture orgs. The council also organizes LES Culture and Community Day in July on Avenue B. There is a small stipend for attended meetings. The other, the Lower East Side Young Artists of Color Fellowship, is a program open to early career people of color artists ages 18 to 26. The fellowship includes weekly meetings, guest artists, work shares, a $500 stipend for each fellow, and culminates in a curated exhibition by the fellows. It's open to all NYC residents with priority consideration for those who live in the neighborhood and or are NYCHA tenants. You can get the application links on our website, and I can also share the links with the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Imani. Okay. I'm gonna ask, do we have a time clock, Linda?
Yeah, I can find it. Hold on.
If not, then I can just do it manually.
I can bring it up. Just take me a moment.
Okay.
Timer.
Thank you.
We hate it so much, but hey.
I know, but just to stay on timeline.
I just have to configure it a little bit.
Thank you. Please bear with us while Linda's looking for our time clock.
Right.
Okay, Billy Cohen has his hand raised. Who's Billy Cohen?
We have a speaker forms.
Yep, okay. Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
We don't have anything a little smaller, right?
I'm afraid not. We've been looking for something, but we haven't found it yet.
All right, can we start at 000?
Yep. I should reset it, I guess, huh?
Thank you.
Why did I want to start at 1?
Oh, that's awesome.
Stupid system.
It's okay. Listen,
Okay, ready to rock and roll.
All right, awesome. Here we go. The next speaker tonight is Peter Rani. Peter, are you here? Peter is a resident of the East Village Tompkins Square area. The clock needs to be stopped.
I don't see Peter.
Peter's not there. Okay, we're gonna go on. I'll come back to Peter. Peter, I haven't, if you're there, I will come back to you, okay? I'm not gonna forget about you. Okay, next we have Lower East Side resident, Kariga Atkinson. I'm not sure. You're supposed to be speaking about environmental concerns.
What's the first name again, Alicia?
It's Karega.
Nope.
Okay, we're gonna move on. We'll come back. Okay, I'll double back again, just to be fair. Rita Garcia. Rita, do you see her, Linda?
She's here.
I see somebody named Rita. I presume that's her.
Okay, awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Rita, we can hear you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Great.
Can we start the clock? Thank you. Go ahead, Rita.
Okay. Hi, my name is Rita Garcia, and I'm here because I was at the dog parade in the East River Park this weekend, and I was shocked by what I heard. I learned that they were going to close and destroy the East River Park. This is an awful attack that will impact my entire community. I think it's about our quality of life, our mental and our physical health, and the overall air quality in this neighborhood. I think it's going to be a mental and physical health crisis that will ensue if any portion of the East River Park is closed for any length of time. In addition, the air quality will go down from all the dust and the debris, coupled with the loss of the air cleaning properties from the loss of trees and green spaces. I feel completely betrayed and sold out in my neighborhood, and I want to know who is responsible for the careless injustice. I'm also utterly appalled that this is being done behind everyone's back. Our neighborhoods are still recovering from the pandemic. How dare the officials in charge do this so sneakily to a community still recovering from an almost 2-year pandemic? The current plans and the construction need to stop right now so that the Lower East Side and East Village residents can be informed and fully involved in any future plans, big or small. Since finding out, I've been researching, and I found out that there was actually a better plan that was voted on by the community, and it was shoved aside by the same officials in favor of destroying the park when it is actually not necessary to do so. This whole process needs to be examined and reviewed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rita.
You're welcome.
Okay, next we have speaker Joan Ramos. Joan. Ramos. Do you see her, Linda?
No, I don't see her.
Okay.
She was there
Yeah,
earlier,
no,
I think.
she's here. I saw her before.
I saw her before too, but I don't see her now.
Maybe
In
she-
order by first name, and there's no Joan.
Okay, I'll come back. I'll double back. Like I said, I'll double back. I just want to move forward so we have enough time for everybody. We have Billy Cohen, and I saw Billy.
Billy, you can speak.
Hi, Billy, you have your 2 minutes. Go ahead.
It's a phantom.
Is
I
he
think
muted?
he's still muted.
I think he's still muted.
He is muted, yeah.
Billy, do you know how to unmute yourself? Billy, you have like 2 seconds and I have to move on to the next speaker.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Okay, there we go.
Okay, I'm sorry, the unmute button was not showing up on the screen, and then the chat, something was very strange about this whole.
No worries, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, this plan is a blatant case of environmental injustice. It's ecocide. It's going to destroy an entire biodiversity, cutting down 1,000 trees. It's the antithesis of resiliency. The city is telling so many, I don't want to say lies, but lies about this. There's not going to be a new park in 5 years. They've hired, it's going to take this such massive construction project, bringing in 1 million cubic feet of tons, thousands of tons of fill. They're not guaranteeing that this fill is even going to be clean fill. There's toxic soil. There's toxins in the soil. There's going to be toxin dust for years and years and years. The community has high rates of asthma, high rates of lung disease from 9/11. This project is going to shorten their lives, and it's all over the news. The new climate reports. The people want flood protection. This is not flood protection on the streets. This was just designed to keep the park dry and mitigate some storm surge. But right now, this $2 billion project that was done behind closed doors with not a single environmental expert in the room. In fact, there was hours of testimony of environmental experts that City Council chose to ignore. The new plan done behind closed doors with no community input, no environmental impact, has absolutely no oversight into the project at all. The City Council members have been giving us the runaround to have, how could there not be an oversight of a project of this magnitude? It's so wrong. It's going to make life unbearable. There will not be a new park for generations. The people, the residents of New York, of the Lower East Side, will not see a new park for years. Their children won't see mature trees for years. The new park without any shade with saplings will be so hot. I don't even know how you could use it. I mean, this project is devastating to the community.
Thank you, Billy. Okay, next speaker, Barbara Katz Rothman.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Barbara, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, that seance quality to Zoom meetings. I'm speaking to the same issue about the health consequences of this plan to leave the FDR totally open and cover the park. The asthma rates are really high in the housing along there, and we're also learning more about the consequences of this kind of air pollution that the FDR, let alone what's happening with the new landfill coming in, what this does not only for children and asthma, but for older people and heart conditions. This plan is going to literally mean dead people. This is terrifying. It is not designed to actually protect us. The flooding that we had during Sandy, as we all know, was mostly about sewer stuff. It really isn't about that somehow or other the water rose over. The park was walkable 2 days later. So it's not that the park was drowned. I think it's really important to understand the health consequences. I'm a medical sociologist, a public health professor. I spend a lot of time in that world, and more attention is being paid to the consequences of living alongside of highways and construction sites. So we had a plan here that could have protected I particularly was thinking of the children and the asthma levels, but the new data on older people and heart attacks too. We had a plan that might have protected people by covering the FDR and providing the same protection from flooding. This plan is simply going to kill people. And it's tragic. It is tragic. Thank you. I'm ending 15 seconds early.
Thank you. Okay. Now, I just saw in the chat, I'm gonna go back. I think there was 2 people that I called on. They weren't there before. Joan is now there. Joan, are you ready to speak?
Joan is muted.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you,
Great.
Joan.
Great. I'm Joan Ramos. Is my 2 minutes up?
No, ma'am, you just.
Okay. I'm a retired nurse from Bellevue Hospital. I'm a state certified COVID community monitor, and I'm a resident of Village East. And I'm a member of East River Action. My first day in nursing school, we learned that science is not a truth, but it's about finding a truth, and finding the truth in contemporary technology where the entire globe is building or protecting biodiversity assets. Our city is failing us. They're about to destroy our only known protection. Resiliency is now what the whole globe is trying to establish. Pure oxygen producing mature trees. We have the exact thing everyone is trying to build, which is a marshland that absorbs and drains acres of water, and the green acres, not, I said fucking, but I didn't mean it, plastic astroturf and cement, but we need natural green, and we can absorb with that 5 tons of carbon, which we need because you and I are breathing in, Howard measured it, 54 million cars a year. Maybe not yesterday, but mostly. The city is unable to locate competent contractors. They bundled up 3 incompetent ones, and that equals a nightmare, not one competent. We're in a pandemic with endless interruption for building materials and labor, which is why the borough president, Gail, has asked for a contemporary environment impact study. Guys, I'm begging you, let's get a hearing on this project. It was built 4 years ago. There was no pandemic now. I couldn't get a frigging can of corn. You're not gonna get 1 million tons of clean fill. And everything is 3 times as high. If they came in at 1.5, we're now 4 billion. And we don't even believe.
That's your time. Thank you so
Okay,
much. Bye, Joan.
Bye, darlings.
I'm gonna ask that everyone please refrain from using any foul
Yes,
language.
erase mine.
Moving forward, can we please refrain from using any foul language, any F-bombs or any of that, please? Thank you so very much. We're going on. I'm not sure if Kariga Atkinson has returned to Zoom. Do you see her now?
Nope.
No. Okay. And what about Peter Riney?
Nope.
Okay. So now we're going to go forward to Ben Lowe and Sarah Levine. They're speaking in support of Honey House. Hanani, I'm not sure. I'm sorry. I don't want to butcher this. Superiority Burger.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Are they here? Ben and Sarah?
I do not see a Sarah. I do not see a Ben.
Okay. We're going to go on to the next one. Mary Round. She's also supporting Superiority Burger. Do you see Mary?
Nope.
Okay, we're going to go on. Joey Dean. Do you see a Joey Dean?
Nope.
Okay, what's going on? All right, next topic. Eric Ramos speaking about the historic district.
He's here.
Okay, can we? Hi, Eric, can you unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
Eric, we hear you. 2 minutes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric Ramos, and I lived in the East Village for over 8 years now. I attended the Cooper Union for my undergrad and graduate studies, and I chose to stay in the neighborhood after I finished. I'm here tonight to express my opposition to the proposed historic district for south of Union Square. While I have no issue with individual landmarks, I fear that landmarking the entire area will negatively affect the affordability of the village, and specifically the East Village where I live. The Housing Rights Initiative run by Aaron Carr has found in detail 29 separate studies conclusively proving the neighborhood landmarking increases the cost of housing, and the mechanism isn't rocket science. When you limit housing construction in a high demand neighborhood, you increase the value of existing homes. This has worked out phenomenally for homeowners in the West Village and Greenwich Village, which are some of the most expensive neighborhoods in the city, despite actually losing housing units to conversions and combinations over the last decade. It just worked less well for renters like myself, who pay more and more in housing costs every year. I understand the urge to preserve history, but with over 30% of Manhattan already landmarked, plus almost all of the Greenwich Village, I really question the point of freezing the one small section that still happens to allow new development. For those reasons, I hope the community board will oppose this proposal. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you so much. Next, we have Peter Riney. We're going to double back again. Peter?
No,
Nope, not in the chat.
nope,
Okay. And Kariga Atkinson, no?
no,
Okay. Joey Dean,
mm-mm,
no, okay. Mary Round
nope,
and Ben Lowe and Laura and Sarah Levine.
oh, Lehane, Lehan,
Oh, no. No.
no, no, Sarah,
All right. That's going to conclude our public session. I'm sorry for those speakers that signed up to speak. There were 5 of you that signed up to speak. I do not see you, nor does Linda see you in the chat. Your hand is not raised, so I am going to move forward into our elected officials report, and that concludes our public session tonight. Thank you, everybody. All right, Linda, let's get to the agenda and go down the agenda.
would you like me to share the agenda now?
Yes, please. I see that we have, let's see, Brian is here, Harvey is here. I saw, all right, we'll just, let's start off with who the elected officials are, who's presently in the House. So I only saw Harvey. Is Gail coming tonight, Brian? Do you know?
Yes, she is.
Okay, great. So we're gonna go ahead and let Harvey speak. I don't see anyone else. Horas here. Okay.
Do you, excuse me just a moment, Alicia,
Yes.
did you have somebody named Laura Espina on your list?
No, I did not.
No. So
Yeah,
we downloaded all the speaker forms at 1 o'clock.
Yeah,
So
so-
there were 11 people at 11 o'clock. I mean, at 1 o'clock. If anyone sent theirs in afterward, we don't have it because we close it at 12.
So she thinks she signed up to speak.
Well, not by 12 o'clock
Okay,
or 1 o'clock.
Who is this, Sean?
Are we looking for Harvey or what?
Yeah, absolutely. Harvey,
Yeah,
how are you?
good.
Welcome.
How are you?
Great.
Good. Thanks for taking a couple of minutes. I just wanted to hope everyone's enjoying this October and this rainy evening. People should be happy that we're not meeting in person, so people don't have to go out in the storm.
Hey, I'm in the office.
Well, you're at least not that far from home. I'll say that. How's that? Just a couple things that are going on. People know there's been a big issue with cab drivers and the mayor not negotiating and coming to the table to try to protect the cabbies. The industry's really imploded. And there's been a hunger strike going on for 6 days, along with other elected officials who got arrested yesterday to support those cab drivers. People can go down by City Hall and provide any support for them is great. We had a small business crawl recently in our communities to speak to small businesses owned mostly by people of color. Really talked about the struggles that they have. We all want to support our small businesses. I encourage people to look at our report and see where we went and to support those businesses. My accessory dwelling unit bill had a hearing last week. People know after Ida, we lost 11 New Yorkers to deaths in basement apartments. We need a path to legalize those units and make them safe for people to live there. And we're working on getting that legislation passed. On Thursday night, we're doing a Zoom town hall on the ballot initiatives that are coming up on the ballot next week. People know we're voting on 5 different constitutional amendments. If people want to join, ours put our report in the chat, and you can also sign up for that so you can learn more about what's happening and learn about those ballot initiatives. There are a bunch of events coming up. We have people want to get the flu shot. We're having a flu shot event on Monday in front of my district office, and another one the week after. So encouraging people to do that event. The Dias de los Muertos event will be happening next week. And I thank you all for all your service, and I'm happy to take a question. And if I don't, enjoy the Halloween at the end of October if I don't speak to everyone.
Hey, I'm sorry. I see a few hands, but I want to remind people only community board members, full board members are speaking to the elected officials at this time. Our public session has ended. Go ahead, Mike.
Hi, Assembly Member. Thank you, and thanks for your work with the cab drivers. I wanted to ask you specifically about the chess area of Tompkins Square Park. As I'm sure you know, it's been barricaded off for a few months now, and I've spoken with a few parks staff members, and they don't really seem to know what's going on. I'm not sure why that area has been barricaded off for so long, and like what the plan is long term, because obviously it hasn't done anything. It's just pushed people to other parts of the park. So yeah, I'm wondering if there's if you know any more details, like if there's a plan to renovate that, or if they just plan on barricading that off for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I think it's good also to have Parks Department come back and discuss this, but yeah, I mean, I don't think Parks has done a great job dealing with kind of the issues going on in Tompkins Square Park, but the initial intent for them was that because they determined that there was what they called a homeless encampment in that chess area, so they closed it off. Literally, people just moved 100 feet to the right of that area. It isn't a solution. They don't really have a long-term plan. I know Commissioner Castro is well aware of the situation, and we've talked about really helping with like comprehensive services for people sleeping in the park and the tents that are up. And so their solution was just to close that area. I think it's not a good solution, and we need a better plan. And we've been talking to them. I'm sure Susan's been talking to them as well about what the long-term solutions are. And so that's just, that was just their Band-Aid. And I don't think it was even a good Band-Aid.
Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Is there any other question for our Assemblyman? No? Okay. Thank you, Harvey.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
You too.
Alicia, could I interrupt for a second just to let you know that Pedro is here and can't stay too long, but he wanted to be able to say goodbye to people.
Okay. Where is Pedro?
Linda, can you see him? Oh, Isabel said he's here.
And say who?
Pedro.
I don't see Pedro.
Okay, well, we have Brian's here. I'll try and find him, but Brian's here in the meantime, if we can move him over.
Right, okay. He's on the phone. All right. Our State Senator Brian Kavanaugh is here?
Yeah.
Yes. Go ahead, Brian. How are you? I see him. There he is. He's in the attendees. You see him, Linda?
Yeah, I tried to promote him. Let me try again. There he goes.
Okay. Good evening, Senator. You can unmute yourself.
Thanks. It's always nice to be promoted. Thank you all for meeting tonight. And it's good. I'm also at the office. I heard Harvey a little back and forth about where everybody was. But I'm glad we're able to continue these things and continue them safely and remotely. So as I think I mentioned the last time I was here, we passed the law that made it possible to suspend certain provisions of the open meetings law, and the only public bodies in the state that are accepted from that are the state assembly and the state senate. So we are in full in-person mode in both houses of the legislature. Just a few updates. There are a number of important bills awaiting the governor's signature. It's a little more complicated this year because the governor who was in place when the bills were passed is no longer the governor, and there's a new governor who I think is working hard to get up to speed. Several of them are critical housing bills, and one of them is an important bill that Assemblymember Lyndon Rosenthal and I passed, improving what's called the FEPS program. This is a voucher program that's intended to prevent people from being homeless or facing, losing their homes and facing eviction. And the state has artificially depressed the amount of money that program can spend for many, many years. So we passed a bill requiring the state to allow 100% of the fair market rent to be covered by that program. We did publish last week in our efforts to advocate for this an op-ed in the Daily News. It was published on the 22nd. I'm sure you all, have already pasted it to your desks so you can read it again. But we are really working to make sure that gets passed, and it's an important measure. So, ask anybody who is, advocating on that to join us in pushing for that particular bill to get signed. The other thing, a lot of the bills we pass require the approval of the voters. So I just want to particularly note that same-day registration and no excuse absentee voting are both on the ballot. These are bills that I had personally introduced many, many years ago, and when it seemed impossible to reform our election laws. As my colleague Zellner Myrie likes to say, we are on the way from going worst to first, like starting with some of the worst election laws in the country not so long ago. These are two very important measures that allow us to do same-day registration and also have absentee voting, even if you're not unavoidably absent from the city on election day. There's also, I just want to note, Proposal 2, which adds a right to clean water and and clean air and a healthful environment to the Constitution's Bill of Rights, is a very important initiative. A lot of states have that. As part of my work with the National Caucus of Environmental Legislators, we've been following efforts around the country, but it's great that it's now coming to the voters here, and I would urge everybody to support that. Just couple of housing updates. The COVID-19 Emergency Rental Assistance Program is certainly working better than it was not so long ago. We're up to $1.8 billion that has been committed or spent to cover arrears for tenants. We do anticipate that we will exhaust. We have $2.85 billion total available for rent arrears, including some money that's available in instances where tenants have left their apartments. We are urging people to continue to apply. OTDA is kind of sending messaging that, like, gee, maybe you won't get money even if you apply. We think that's a mistake. People should apply. We will we'll have them review applications. We'll figure out who's eligible. And then we need to figure out how to cover the full cost. That will likely involve trying to get the federal government to reallocate money from other places that have not spent their money by January, and also, if necessary, allocating additional money through the state budget process. But people should continue to work on that. If you know of anybody who's having trouble accessing that program, please do let us know, and we'll try to follow up. A lot of the work in the coming year is going to involve implementing the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act that we passed in 2019. I will say there's been, kind of a, an understandable shift toward the more immediate crisis of COVID-19 and like emergency crisis response. But it is critical that we get back to that. We will have a lot of that is involving making sure we're spending adequate money to make the transitions we need in a just way and also effective way. We've also been spending a lot of time recently advocating against fossil fuel infrastructure that represents a kind of investment in the future going in the wrong direction. I'll be announcing some legislation in the coming weeks that is intended to address those issues. I guess that's a teaser for next month's meeting. But we are working out as we go toward the next session. We're excited that a couple of weeks, 3 weeks ago now, I guess, City Hall announced their $170 million plan to reconstruct 70 Mulberry Street. I really compliment this board on focusing greatly on that and making sure the community's voice was heard and making sure that City Hall got the pressure necessary to make sure that they put, I think that the cost of that project went up a lot as they started realizing it, but $170 million commitment is very significant. And I think that, it's to this board's credit and obviously a lot of other community folks that we got that far. I think I will stop there. I understand that there were a few questions posed at last meeting about some other policy areas, but so I have some notes on those about questions that were asked where I wasn't here, but I think I think it probably makes sense to just go to Q&A for people who are present now, if that makes sense, if there is any.
Okay, thank you, Senator Kavanaugh. Okay, Olympia has her hand up. Go ahead, Olympia.
Thank you. I don't remember what was the last month's question, but this month's question is about good cause eviction. As you know, before the pandemic, some progress was done, some good laws were passed to strengthen the rights of renters, and good cause didn't pass then. And we definitely needed here locally, Cooper Square Committee, but all over the city, some of the best organizations are advocating for that. So I want to make sure that, you can share your opinion, but I hope you support it and you're going to help us pass it. So yeah. Please.
Yeah, no, we tried. That was one of our core priorities in 2019 when we did the HSTPA. We did the Housing Stability and Tenant Protection Act, which not only strengthened the rent laws, but strengthened a whole range of laws around eviction and rights of tenants relative to landlords. But good cause is a big item that we did not get done. And I fought very, very hard to get it done then. I was recently at a press conference with colleagues in Brooklyn around a landlord, basically a predatory equity operation that has purchased 107 buildings in New York, mostly in Brooklyn in the last couple of years, and immediately sent a notice to every resident saying they need to get out because they're going to jack up the rent and bring in new tenants. We need good cause eviction for those who probably most people on this call know, but for those who don't, it basically is the simple premise that a landlord, and if they want to decline to renew somebody's lease, they need good cause, they need a reason. So certainly non-payment and some other things are reasons, but I want to rapidly increase the rents and get wealthy people to pay me a much higher rent is not good cause, and people would have that protection. I support it, Senator. We'll be working very hard to get it done this coming session.
Thank you.
Okay, any question? Okay, Mike, Kathleen, Kay and Michael. Okay, go ahead, Kay and then Michael, okay?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Kay.
Thank you. Senator Kavanaugh, I just wanted to thank you for that bill. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a lot of homeless folks here, and without a home, you just can't get your life together. So thank you.
Yep. And I mentioned it before, but there's a program called Housing Access Vouchers that I had introduced just before the pandemic. The Senate pushed for an initial allocation of $200 million toward that program. It is state funded equivalent of Section 8, and it is intended particularly for people who otherwise would be homeless. We need to renew that fight, and we need to put real substantial dollar, whatever the feds do at the my federal colleagues do with this very important legislation they're pushing now. We need to make sure we're putting adequate money behind making sure that people are not underhoused or unhoused because they can't pay the rent. It's just an outrage.
Yeah. Thank you. Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, my question was the one raised last month for good cause, and I also wanted to know about eliminating 421A and 485A, which is the 421A equivalent upstate. We've just seen these tax exemptions go to real estate developers that build mostly luxury housing. I used to work at HPD, and those units would sit vacant because the rents would be higher actually than the rents for just market rate apartments in that building where people could walk up and rent the unit. So I'm wondering if you support the full elimination of those tax exemptions so we could use that money to build actually affordable housing like social housing or, you know, a new Mitchell-Lama or funding NYCHA, things like that. Thanks.
Yeah, so I opposed the current program when it was previously passed. I don't oppose the notion of using tax subsidies to promote affordability and frankly other public goods. But this program is grossly skewed in favor of getting very small amount. The public good we're supposed to be buying with 421A is affordability, and we buy very little affordability in exchange for the city foregoing an enormous amount of tax revenue. So I oppose that. I would let that die. I mean, it expires this coming year. I think, you know, the new there's going to be a new mayoral administration, a new city council. This is all city money. If the city were to come forth with a program that uses tax subsidies as opposed to direct spending to promote affordability, I would also note the other big public good we should be promoting is resiliency and energy efficiency and things that are going to help us address climate change. But so I don't want to say no tax subsidies to do any of those things, because, you know, tax subsidies are one way to do it. Spending directly is another way to do it. And I don't oppose that as a mechanism, but the current program is really not buying much and should not be extended in anything that's remotely like its current form.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And I believe that's all the questions that we have.
Okay, Pedro is here now. If you
And I'm going to jump, but Greer is still here, and he just put his email there. If people have anything to follow up with us about, certainly reach out to him. But thank you all. It's great to see you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your hard work.
Thank you for yours. Take care.
Okay. Pedro is here.
How are you, everybody?
Hey, how's it?
Thanks for letting me jump in here. I'm trying to keep it together right now, but I'm on this call to let everybody know who doesn't know already that after 4 years of working together with many of you, I think most of you, I will be leaving the councilwoman's office at the end of the week. It's been a pretty amazing run working with all of you, with the councilwoman, with my team. I think I'm leaving behind some wonderful people that you are going to continue to work with. Isabel Chandler, who's our CB3 rep and now our legislative director, is going to stay on. And rest assured that we will continue working diligently to cover everything from parks to sanitation to all the things that we work on together. And by the way, housing, which, don't forget to go on Housing Connect. We have a property that we funded with Margaret Chin that went live on Housing Connect on East 2nd Street, East Village Homes, which we're very proud of, very low AMIs on that one. So it's that type of thing that I'm very proud of that we could accomplish. And I wish you all the best. And thank you for allowing me the privilege to work with all of you in the community. So thank you. And I'm going to kick it to Isabel. Take care.
Thank you, Pedro. It was a pleasure working with you.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be very brief after that announcement, but I hope everyone is safe and dry in the rain this evening. I wanted to share that last week Councilmember Rivera introduced legislation that mandates the city create an evacuation plan for multiple dwellings units that are in flash flooding areas in the city. We're also holding a hearing tomorrow on emergency preparedness in our hospital systems for climate emergencies. And last but not least, we have an exciting e-waste event at Tompkins Square Park on November 14th. I'll add details in the chat, but thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions.
Alicia?
Yes.
We have a gentleman here who I think you called the name of Peter somebody. And I did not recognize that name, but there is such a person in the queue. Can we let him speak? He did sign up.
Okay, we can go back to that. Any questions for Isabel? Olympia, go ahead.
I mean,
And then Sandra.
It's just a thank you and a highlight for the other officials who haven't spoken yet. I appreciate Carlina's leadership on asking for the abolish of the tax lien sale. And I haven't seen, I think, Margaret Chin signing on this letter. So maybe that's a question already for Margaret Chin. But this is a horrible tax lien sale that happens and impacts low-income communities, and it should be abolished. So I want to thank Carlina for being among the leaders and asking for it to at least be postponed for this year, but overall be abolished.
Thank you, Olympia. Sandra?
Actually, it's for Pedro, but maybe you can answer it. I didn't get the address for the property on 2nd Street. If you can, I got Housing Connect, but I didn't get the address.
I think it's the only one that's on 2nd Street.
I will add it to the chat.
Thank you.
So you have it.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you, Isabel. Thank you. All right, I'm gonna go back. I know that we have some other elected officials. There is Peter, we did call your name a couple of times.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
So you can go ahead and get your 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you. I don't know if, I see my name is coming up that I'm talking, but I don't know if my video is on. I don't.
It's not.
It's not. Do you need that, or do you
No,
just?
we don't. No. Go ahead and start talking.
So I'm listening to all the topics being brought up, and I feel like this might be egregious comparatively. I live in the East Village, and this is really primarily about the street eateries and how the administration of the city right now is considering making them a permanent fixture. And I just wanted to bring up the kind of dismantling of the ecosystem down here in the East Village, which once used to be a fairly calm environment, residential environment, and now, particularly on my block, which is 7th Street in between First Avenue and Avenue A, it has become a nonstop construction zone during the day, a nonstop nightlife with serious noise that when people were in these restaurants and bars, the noise at least stayed inside the buildings, but now they're in these uninsulated cabanas basically on the street, and noise travels very loudly. So we experience a tremendous amount of like living disruption. And we kind of feel that, or I feel that they were really a stopgap measure for the pandemic so that these restaurants could survive. And if you were here before the pandemic, and I've lived here for 25 years, you'd know that these restaurants right now are doing probably triple the business they did pre-pandemic, because they have people inside and outside. And I am not against small businesses surviving, nor am I against the administration trying to help people in a horrific global pandemic crisis. But what I am against is the seemingly blind eye that the city administration is turning toward the residents of this area. And we are not asking for much. We are asking for consideration of our living situation. We live in, some of these buildings are old rent stabilized buildings. They're not soundproofed. I am basically woken up by garbage trucks coming for 6 different cabanas between times of 2 and 5. And I know my time is about up, but I just feel like I had to be heard on this topic. I don't think it's something that is terribly out of the ordinary, but to think that there's
Peter,
basically
I have to
construction.
stop you, Peter, because
Yes, ma'am.
you're beyond our public session, and I went back to allow you. And
I understand. I understand. Thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you so much, Peter, for your share. Okay,
Gail's here now.
all right, awesome. So we'll have our Manhattan Borough President, Gail Brewer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be quick because I know you have a lot on your plate. I am in a car, so I got to keep my mask on. Couple of things. One is I know everybody's asking about congestion pricing. And the piece that I want to say is that we absolutely have to have somebody who knows transportation, knows community boards, and lives in Lower Manhattan. So we've been pushing for that, and let's see if it happens. Just so you know, that's my #1 issue for the task force that's going to have some say about congestion pricing. #2, this is Manhattan Week. The mayor has called it. I know that there are not a lot of, I think, events that are happening. I would have liked to see more from the mayor, but he did announce today that in addition to other things, the resiliency money for financial district and South Street Seaport area, just so you know. There's also a resource fair that you probably know about at John Jay College on Thursday from 2 to 5. I don't know exactly what's going to be there, but just so you know. Helicopters. I have been working so hard on these things to get rid of them. So we are going to soon have a letter signed by a lot of elected officials from New Jersey, and of course Manhattan, and maybe some from Brooklyn. But and that talks about tourism and tries to get rid of tourism. At the same time, to the credit of the Congress members Nadler and Maloney and Nydia Velasquez, the helicopter bill, I'm sure it has a fancier name, is attached to the infrastructure bill. I assume that, I don't know this for a fact, you can talk to Congressman Nadler, but if the infrastructure bill passes, then there could be an attachment that says helicopters cannot fly over cities of 8 or more million, which would be us. Well, let's see what happens. We really do need that because all my efforts are not going to get us very far. We're just going to be piecemealing. People are also upset, as you can imagine, about helicopters just flying with passengers out to Long Island, Saturday and Sunday in particular. So we're trying to deal with that. They're coming somewhat out of the 34th Street heliport. So I'm fine. I got all the information. Stopping it is another story. With board 1, but bordering on board 2, we obviously are trying to get the Brooklyn Bridge underneath it to be something available to the community. So I think the plans are phenomenal. Making them all happen is another story. But thank you to all those who are doing the tours. We are doing in the Manhattan Borough President's Office the Community Board Leadership Training Series. There was one today on your favorite topic, the State Liquor Authority. With all the mappers from Beta NYC, and there are many more coming up. So please make sure that you check it out because I think if you do, you'll find they're really good. They're really great information. Talking about information, we still have every Tuesday at 3 o'clock, the Manhattan Borough President phone call. Everybody's welcome. Today was someone on vaccines, but mostly on drug treatment and the money and where that topic is going. And I want to thank everybody who participates. You're always welcome. Wednesday, November 10th, this is mostly a state issue, but it will impact all of us. The New York State Independent Redistricting Commission is having a hearing about their draft plans. As you know, they have, I think, 2 plans. So please pay attention. I know you're aware of January 15th being the deadline at this point for the open meetings law. Make sure you get your owl from our office when I know they're all ordered. I think we can do hybrid in the future, but who knows? I don't know what it's going to be. So it's up to you and all of us to advocate for what we want. Composting Manhattan wasn't doing well, but I have to say, as of everybody making a fuss and signing up, at least 2 more community boards, I think 6 and 7, are now going to get pickup for composting. And so I hope that others get to do the same. As you know, I had a press conference to talk about the great money that our Attorney General James got and gave to the city, $276 million. We have to figure out where it's going to be spent. for this issues we're dealing with drug treatment, substance abuse, and so on. And so we need to work with the community boards to make sure that happens. That's it. One more small fun thing. Rob Snyder is our borough historian, and he's absolutely fantastic. And he has put together a group of historians and archivists, and they're doing a documentary on what happened during the COVID in the 5 boroughs, but particularly Manhattan. He's a Manhattan borough historian. So let us know if you want to be part of this. It's not artifacts, it's the actual what groups did what. And he just got a huge award for the work that he's doing. So let us know if you're interested. Thank you very much, Board 3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We are actually having 2 people that would like to speak with you. Trevor, go ahead. And then Olympia.
Good evening, Gail, and thank you for your time. Hi, I listened to you on the mayor's conference this morning regarding the announcement of the $150 or so million for Fide and Seaport. But one of the things, and I think you mentioned it, was that the Brooklyn Bridge Esplanade project, which spans CB31 and CB33, will be put on pause. And I'm wondering about your thoughts, since I know you funded that along with the council member, and we were just at the point, if not, where construction has started. And they fenced it off already. So I'm wondering what your thoughts on that, and if, just want to make sure that happens. I know they said they don't want to do 2 things at once, but you did fund that. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts.
I funded it, and so did Councilmember Chin, and it is going to go forward. Believe you me, Trevor. I thank you for asking, but that's not, it's going to go forward. I didn't know about what you said until this morning, but we're on it and it's going to go forward. I will make sure. I don't know how else to say. I'm trying to be nice.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Olympia.
Thank you. So Gail, today we just heard that the FDA authorized the Pfizer vaccine for ages 5 to 11. That is like huge news for all the parents of the city. And I would like to talk to you about many issues about what are the priorities of DOE right now, and sometimes also issues that come out from your office that I feel they're not important, like the gifted and talented fake debate. But the vaccine is a huge issue. And I want to make sure that you all put resources on educating the parents why this is going to be safe and why we all need to vaccine our kids. So do you have like funds, a plan? How are we going to do that? Because as we speak, I just got a notice that we have 4 positive cases in my schools, in my kids' school. And we have a lot of cases in the neighborhood. So this is
I want to say, we should probably talk offline because I know you have a lot, and work with the superintendent. It's nothing with DOE is easy. I don't need to tell you that, of all people. But why don't we talk offline, because it's a big topic to address.
But
I'll give you a call tomorrow.
But about the FDA authorization that came out today about vaccinating kids in 5 to 11, your office has someone to work on this, on educating people? Great.
Yes, we do. Yeah. Thank you.
Let me see if there are any other hands. I don't see any, as not seeing any more. Thank you so much, Borough President.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a good evening, okay? Travel safe.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. Let's go back to our elected officials. Mayor de Blasio's office, Andrew, no. Philip from Jamadi Williams, no. Okay. Katrina, Scott Stringer's office, no. Brian, is there anything else you need to add to what Gail just said?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Congress member Nydia Velasquez, Ling.
Oh, good. Thank you, Alicia. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, dear CB3 board members and community members. Thank you for having me here tonight. Tonight, I bring two updates from the Congresswoman's recent work. One is the Build Back Better plan. As the Congress continue to develop President Biden's Build Back Better plan, Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez is leading the effort to urge the administration to maintain the $80 billion capital repair plan for NYCHA that was in the original larger Build Back Better plan, but now the plan is the spending has to be scaled back. Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez is fighting to keep that investment in the nation's public housing infrastructure investment. She's trying to keep that it on. And off that $80 billion, NYCHA, New York City Public Housing, is set to get $32 billion. And this money will bring NYCHA up to date with all the capital, with all the capital needs that has lapsed and over the years. So this would fix all these, everything from bad pipe to moldy walls and bad heater, etc. And secondly, at the beginning of this month, Congresswoman Velázquez, as the highest ranking member from New York City on housing, community development and an insurance subcommittee in the House, was the jurisdiction over all federal housing and homeless issues. She sent an inquiry to the Department of Social Services demanding investigation into the core homeless shelter scandal that was exposed by New York Times about nonprofits misdeeds was dealing with homeless programs. And Ms. Velázquez demanded a number of inquiries, including if any federal funds are used for the program, and also if, to what extent did city know about the organization core and Mr. Brown's financial entanglement, but decided to still continue paying millions of dollars into the organization while when trouble had already surfaced years ago. The details of the letter is available on her website at velazquez.house.gov. Thank you. Any questions?
Let me see. Are there any hands? I don't see any hands, Link. Oh, wait, one just went up. Let's see. Oh, Eric, go ahead, brother Eric.
Hi, Ling. I just want to confirm that the Build Back Better program is going to now have $32 billion investment towards NYCHA instead of the $80 billion.
No, the 80 is for the whole nationwide, all the public housings. And then off the 80, 32 is for New York NYCHA.
For that clarification, you also made a comment that the $32 billion would affect NYCHA, and I didn't catch the rest of that.
Well, the 32 would basically bring NYCHA up to date with pretty much all of its capital investment needs. This was the figure that was given by NYCHA pre-pandemic of what they estimated the amount that's needed. Of course, I'm aware that the number has grown. I think now it's 40 billion, but we start somewhere, because and the NYCHA has used the lack of capital investment that they have this gap in funding. NYCHA use it as the reason to go red, to go private, that they need to go look for privatization, which a lot of residents are against because they lose self-determination and they lose control. And then this capital investment, the the 32 billion for NYCHA in the Build It Back will bring NYCHA, New York Public, not just NYCHA, but public housing nationwide in general to a much better shape, and it's going to fix basically all the debts in infrastructure investment that was cut in the decades prior leading to now. Yeah, and then it was included in the original Build It Back plan. As you know, I don't need to say too much more, as all you following the news knows, due to Senator Manchin holding up the Build Back Better plan, we have to now we have to cut back the program to half the size. So Congressmember Velasquez is leading a fierce fight in DC right now to try to preserve the amount of funding for public housing.
That's awesome, Ling. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think that concludes our questions for our Congresswoman. Thank you, Ling. Next, we have our Congressmember Carolyn Maloney. Victor, you're here. I saw you.
Yes, ma'am. Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney toured the Rikers Island jail complex and spoke with Rikers officials regarding the current state of the facility. Quote, "Today we saw firsthand the horrific conditions that individuals incarcerated on Rikers Island are living under, and the support staff and correction officers are working under. It is inexcusable that the number of in-custody deaths on Rikers Island has more than quadrupled over the past 2 years, including 5 individuals who have died of suspected suicides this year alone. While we welcome the signing of the Less is More Act, we must take action to improve conditions at the facility for incarcerated people, support staff, and correction officers. To address overcrowding, we can act today by beginning the decarcerization process, supporting individuals return to their communities, and working with the courts to reduce pre-trial sentencing and to expedite hearings for those currently incarcerated. The city, state, and federal government must immediately take action to correct the humanitarian crisis on Rikers Island and provide a safe, clean environment, including ensuring access to medical care for those incarcerated there. The inhumane conditions we witnessed today are a stain on the city and state of New York. Rikers' horrific history must come to an end, said Congresswoman Carolyn Maloney, and the Congresswoman wishes the members of the board and the community a safe and festive Halloween. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Any questions? Yes, Carlin, go ahead. I see your hand.
Yes, did Carolyn Maloney propose how to impanel a federal, state, and city panel to address how to improve these conditions? This dialogue has gone on well over 10 years, and it seems that every year it's getting worse. Nothing is actually being done except for people talking about it.
She's certainly looking into bringing them to Washington in front of her committee. She is the chairwoman of the Oversight Committee. So she's looking into that, and I will again bring this to her attention. Thank you.
Thank you. I believe that there are no more questions. Oh, wait, I saw another hand. Let's go back up. Who is this raising their hand? Oh, Valentina, go ahead, Val.
Yeah, I guess going along with what Colin said, there was a whole report done, so I assume that the next administration coming in, we're going to have to do something, because the report basically said that Rikers Island is unlivable. I don't have the report in front of me, but there was a whole report done. And, basically I have to agree with Colin. I forgot who did the report, but I could remind you in the morning, but the whole report was done, and it was very clear that you got to get folks off of Rikers Island, that it was basically unsafe for people to be housed there. So I'm with Colin. I don't understand why I don't know that another commission or whatever needs to be set up. I think that was a very reputable commission that was set up, and they had a very reputable report that basically said the place was unsafe. So, and this was done some years ago before they came up with the plan for the borough plan, the plan for each borough to have a site, a jail, a site, near the jails, because one of the other problems with Rikers Island is that if you have an attorney, that's like a day trip to go out there to see your client. And that's also one of the things in the report. So, I mean, I think there's a report already done, and I think it was a very reputable report. And I just kind of think that I kind of thought with the new administration that somebody was going to get out there and fight about the fact that the report says the place is uninhabitable.
Thank you, Val. I'm going to ask that we contain our comments to questions that can actually be answered. I do understand what you're saying.
Oh.
I am very.
Well, you know what? I guess the question would be, what are you doing with the report that was already done? I'm almost positive it was a lawyer. It was a judge or a lawyer or somebody who headed that. And it was a whole commission of people. So I guess the question is, what are you doing with the report that has already been done that says the place is uninhabitable?
Thank you, Val.
I'm sure that the Congresswoman has access to that report, and she's looking into it, both sides, all sides. I'll come back with an answer next month.
Okay, and I'll make sure that I have the report in front of me next month and read off exactly how they say this. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina.
All right. That being all the questions for our, okay, yeah, that's it for our Congressmember Carolyn Maloney. Victor, thank you so much. Okay, now we're gonna move on to Elaine. Amy, are you here? Is someone from our Assemblywoman Elaine's office here?
I believe she is here.
Elaine is here or Amy's here?
I thought Amy was here.
Okay. Amy, can you raise your hand if you're here? No, James. James, are you here on behalf of Elaine's office? Yes, okay, please promote James. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to be standing in for my colleague Amy today, who had to step out quickly this evening for an unforeseen family emergency. But yeah, I hope everyone continues to stay safe and well today. Just a few brief updates from our team. Last month, the Assembly member was honored to stand with her fellow elected officials and local residents to welcome the groundbreaking of Grant Street Settlement's community center renovation at 80 Pitt Street. This building will be a new and improved asset to the community with, including spaces for childcare, youth programs, older adult services, and equipment with renovated spaces for all to come together in. And another quick mention, of course, today is the 7th day of the New York taxi workers' hunger strike. Yellow cab drivers continue to speak out against Mayor de Blasio's taxi medallion relief program, which puts the burden onto workers to pay back the relief that they've received. The average debt of each cab driver is now over $550,000. Assemblymember New is standing in solidarity with these taxi drivers and her fellow hunger strikers. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for our Assembly member? Okay. Thank you, James. Okay, we're going to move forward. Charlie, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, good evening, everyone. Charlie Anderson from Assemblymember Deborah Glick's office. I've put our digital version of our board report in the chat for everybody. We have a few things in that report that details what the Assemblymember at our office has been doing over the past month. But I want to call attention to some things that my colleagues have mentioned. The first being is the the constitutional amendment proposals will be on your ballot this November, or we are currently in early voting. So currently, just remember to flip your ballot. People sometimes forget to flip your ballot. We have listed those ballot proposals out for you in the board report, and they are also in your voter guide. Just want to remind folks of that. The second thing is to remind folks of the tax lien sale that is coming up. We mentioned this last month as well. If you are concerned that you may have a tax lien against your property, please go and look that up and so that you can begin payments. With the Department of Financial Services, there was a question last month as to whether or not the Assembly member supports or opposes tax lien sales, and I can say that definitively she opposes tax lien sales, just to make sure that that point is perfectly clear. Tax liens, unfortunately, are a concept we live with. However, lien sales should not exist, and certainly not in the year of a pandemic when folks may be trying to catch up. That is it from me this evening, unless there are any questions.
Let me see, Charlie. Let's see if there are
Sure,
any.
of course.
Okay. No hands, Charlie.
Thank you so much, and you have a good
Thank
evening.
you. You too. Bye. Okay. Next, we have to add. Uh-oh, what just happened? Okay. Anything else you need to add? Outer? No. Okay. We're going to move on. Brian spoke already, so Greer, you have nothing else to add to Brian's report?
No, the Senator said it all. Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much, Greer. And State Senator Brad Holman. Carolyn, I saw you.
Hi, Alicia.
Hey.
Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Caroline Wexelbaum from State Senator Brad Hoylman's office. I know that it's been a busy night, but I'm going to drop our board report into the chat so everyone can read it. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of things we're working on this week. First, Senator Hoylman is hosting a town hall on the 5 New York State constitutional amendments. It will be Thursday, October 28th from 6 to 7 p.m. And it will be streamed on Facebook Live. So anybody who wants to watch it can watch it live, or you can watch it afterwards. And I'm sure everybody already knows that early voting is happening now, and election day is next Tuesday, November 2nd. I also just wanted to give you a couple of quick things the senator has been working on. One of them is the Fair Vaccines Mandate Act. So Senator Hoylman introduced legislation to end a double standard in our current vaccine mandate that allows out-of-state performers and athletes to enter venues without proof of vaccinations. For local performers and athletes, they're not allowed to work in New York venues without proof of vaccination. So it's a loophole for out-of-state performers, and Senator Hoylman is looking to close that. And then a plug for vaccinations. Please get your flu shot, your COVID shot, or your booster shot if you're eligible. Senator Hoylman hosted a free flu shot event yesterday. There's pictures in our board report if anyone wants to see those. And I just wanted to make a note about congestion pricing. I know a number of people asked about it last month, and I said I'd follow up. So I wanted to drop some comments from Senator Hoylman in the chat, and then just make one note on something the borough president mentioned. The borough president and multiple elected officials, including Senator Hoylman, sent a letter to the governor asking that a resident of the Central Business District be appointed to the TMRB, which is the Traffic Mobility Review Board. And that board they're the ones who decide what the exemptions are to congestion pricing. I know a lot of people were asking about them. last month and continue to be concerned. And so while Senator Hoylman and the other elected officials can now advocate for a number of exemptions, and there are a number that Senator Hoylman supports, ultimately it is up to TMRB to make those decisions. So having a representative or more from our community is really, really important. There are opportunities for public comment. So if you have a strong opinion about that, I strongly suggest that you make your opinion known. And finally, Pedro, we'll miss you so much. I will miss you so much. And I just wanted to thank you for all your work. I don't know if he's still here, but now I'm on record saying that because we truly will miss you. You're amazing. Any questions?
Let's see, Carolyn, let's see. I don't see any hands. Nope, no hands, Carolyn.
Okay, thank you all. Have a wonderful
You
Halloween.
too. Enjoy your Halloween. Be safe.
Thank you. You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye. Next we have Councilmember Margaret Chin's office. Kana, I'm sorry, Kana.
We couldn't promote her, but we have her so she can speak.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Hold on 1 second. Be fine. Okay, so I have some very brief updates on some legislation. We've been hearing from a lot of constituents that light pollution is a big problem, especially with high rises or commercial office space that keeps the lights on, and it just it is a quality of life concern because folks are having a hard time sleeping. So we put in an LS request. We're working with on legislation, in particular with Councilmember Justin Brannon, who had a similar bill. So we're making that into a package, and we're advocating for the for it to be pushed through. Right now, it has already been introduced. So we're advocating to the speaker to have it put on the agenda. Margaret had a terrific oversight committee on Monday, October 18th about the community care plan. As well, it included another bill that provides assistance to seniors who have a bed bug infestation. Another legislative update is that we are fighting really hard to get some ACS bills that are currently in the Committee on General Welfare to be reinstated into the next stated meeting. The administration decided to kick them out last second, and so they did not age. They did not get placed on the agenda, which is very disappointing for us. So we are back at the drawing board with the mayor's office and the Council of Legislative Affairs, and we're going to be fighting very hard to make sure that these very important bills, which really provide parents with all of their rights before any ACS investigation takes place, to make sure that if an ACS officer knocks on your door, sort of like ICE, you know exactly what the rights are that you have before you let them in, because we know sometimes agencies, their oversight needs more oversight from another body, and that's us. So we're fighting to have this included in the stated. And on some community events notes, we had a health fair with AFI on Saturday, and we also held a Doris Day there commemoration at Washington Square Park. And that's all for me. Susan?
Yeah, so we have a complaint about a light in your district that's a little bit different, but perhaps it's something we can work on. We have a complaint about a light from a business that's extremely bright and shining in people's bedrooms. And Department of Buildings told us that there wasn't any regulation against it. So we found the section in the zoning text that does regulate it. And now they're telling us they don't have the tools to measure it or enforce it, which is pretty ridiculous.
They being DOB?
DOB, yes, it's really ridiculous. So perhaps we can touch base tomorrow to figure out how to deal with that, because it's just kind of unbelievable.
Yes, I have worked on cases like this. Luckily, Margaret is pretty close to the DOB commissioner. So I'll start an email with you right now, and then you can send me details. And
yeah, I'll connect with you tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, Shirley?
Yeah, hey Kana, I'm super interested in finding out where I can find more information about the legislation you're trying to pass around ACS. So I can connect with you at Margaret's office, but if you have anything you can drop into the chat, I would love that.
Yeah, sure. I will, let me link the Legistar link.
Okay.
Legistar, I'll do that in 2 seconds. But yeah,
And I can
will-
reach your office tomorrow too, and just have a chat.
Yeah, hold on, Connor Irvin. My email is in the chat. Oh, it's to hosts and panelists only, so. Yeah, feel free to connect with me on that.
Okay, we're gonna go forward. Lee?
Hi, Kana. Thank you for the information about Margaret's proposed legislation. Will that light pollution bill also deal with light pollution coming from television and movie production?
That is a great question. And I live in an area where there are a lot of films being shot. And I totally hear you on that. That's like a big problem when they set up their huge lights. I don't think so, but I will ask the bill drafter if that can be included, because that's a good point.
You'd appreciate that. Certainly portions of the Lower East Side that are filmed in heavily are affected by that, but there are also portions of the Lower East Side that are affected by productions in Brooklyn. When there's waterfront shooting and gigantic lights are aimed towards the river, those on this side are frequently affected. So yeah, it would be great if that could be included. Thank you.
Thank you. That's it for questions. Thank you, Kana.
Thank you.
Okay, Isabel already spoke, so I do believe this is going to conclude our elected officials report. Wait, yep, nope. Oh, is this from the district attorney? Yes, our district attorney's office. Hi.
Hi, Alicia. Thank you.
Hi.
Good evening. This is Lin Jingchen from the DA's office. So our office will host our second Art of Healing event in Lower East Side this Saturday. Community Board 3 is going to be tabling our event, and I know Susan will stop by too. Thanks to CB3 for supporting our event. DA events will try to come too. And I hope everyone who has time can stop by to enjoy the art and music in the event. Thank you. I will put the address and time in the chat. Thank you.
Yes, I was about to announce that in my report. That's gonna be, I'll just remind them as well and give a little more detail, okay?
Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. So now that concludes our elected officials report for tonight. And we will now go into our roll call vote for approval of the minutes from the month before.
Okay, oh shoot, my phone. All right, David Adams.
Yes.
Okay. Euron Altman.
Yes.
Okay. Jesse Beck.
Yes.
Lee Berman.
Yes.
Harlan Chan.
Yes.
Jonathan Chu.
Yes.
David Crane.
Here.
Eric Diaz. Yes. Alistair Kinamakis. Jamie Felber.
Here.
Okay. Shirley Fennessy.
Yes.
Brian Gilliam.
Yes.
Deborah Glass.
Present.
Okay. Andrea Gordillo.
Yes.
Danielle Hernandez.
Yes.
Okay. Herman Hewitt.
Yes.
Trevor Holland.
Yes.
Linda Jones.
Yes.
Valentina Jones.
Yes.
Tatiana Jorio.
Yes.
Lisa Kaplan.
Here.
Okay. Olympia Kazi.
Here.
All right. Jeanette Kim.
Here.
Got you. Michelle Cooper Smith.
Here.
All right. May Lee.
Here.
Wendy Lee.
Yes.
Okay. Alicia Lewis Coleman.
Yes.
David Louis.
Yes.
Laura Lugo.
Present.
Okay. Helen Liu.
Present.
Okay. Michael Marino. Michael. Okay. Alexandra Militano.
Here.
Okay. Thank you. Michael Perlis.
Yes.
Tariq Ramos. Tariq Ramos. Okay. Paul Rangel.
Here.
All right. Damaris Reyes.
Yes.
Okay. Richard Ropiak.
Yes.
Mas Rosa. Thomas Rosa. Robin Chattel.
Yes.
Heidi Schmidt.
Yes.
Okay. Larissa Scheinberg. Anisha Stephen.
Yes.
Okay. Sandra Strother.
Present.
Okay. Daniel Pinow.
Yes.
Josephine Velez.
Yes.
Troy Velez.
Yes.
Rodney Washington.
Yes.
All right. Kathleen Webster.
Yes.
Jackie Wong.
Yes.
Ricky Wong. Ricky? All right. Roll call.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, now we are going to go into our board reports, and we have two big issues that we're dealing with tonight that we have to vote on. And I just want to be very clear with everyone that we're not rehashing anything. These are things that have already been worked on. This is the district needs statement and capital expense priorities. And also we are going to be talking about the order of our district needs and the order that we put them in. Hold on one second. I just want to pull it up. Linda, I know you don't have that attachment on there. It should be a part of the attachment that you received already in your email. I apologize, everyone. Just trying to pull it all up. And it's the first item.
I think it was after the committee reports.
Yes, we're going to do that after the committee reports, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone is prepared for that, okay? And again, please, we're not going to be throwing any extra things in there. These are things that we'll work very, very hard on. And so I just want to make sure that everyone knows that we're not rehashing or reinventing anything, okay? If there are any grammatical errors, we greatly appreciate any assistance in that. But other than that, this stuff should just be us voting on it. Okay. Now, the community board, as our district attorney's office came on board and said, they're having an event this Saturday. Linda has volunteered to be at the table, but I don't want her being by herself. Our community board, as I said before, in the past, should be visible in our community. People need to know what the community board is all about. So Linda will be there with some pamphlets, English, Spanish, and Chinese on the table, and we'll have some pins as giveaways. And we'd like for anyone that is able to come out and participate at the event to help Linda out at the table. You don't have to stay for the entire event, but it would be great for you to come out and show your face and be supportive and represent our community board as well. The event's from 12 noon to 4 p.m. It's going to be on Hester Street between Ludlow and Essex. So please go out and support. Next, I want to remind everyone, you should have gotten an email from our borough president's office about some trainings that are coming up. This is the fall trainings that take place every year. I want to encourage all the new members. There's a special new members training that they're having, and we've not been able to get ours up off the ground. We normally do have a new members training, but I encourage all of you to join that one. And new members, I'm not talking about just this year, I'm talking about anyone that has joined the community board from 2020 to present. I want to encourage all of you to join that. And if there are any members that are a little more seasoned or that have been here since 2018, 19, and prior years, you're all welcome to join any of those trainings, as they send the training links out to all of us. So I encourage everyone to please be a part of those trainings. And that's it for my report. I'm going to go on to Susan, please.
Okay, thank you. First, I just want to let everyone know I'll be on vacation from November 1st through November 9th. I would also like to address the issue Michael Perlis brought up about Tompkins Square Park. When the chess table area was barricaded, it was certainly done without any input from the community or the community board. We weren't even notified. I don't think anybody was notified. I don't think Homeless Outreach was notified. And the result of barricading that area is to move people in the middle of the park, even with tents, and to disperse people. And when you disperse people, it's much harder for Homeless Outreach to outreach to the people that they've been trying to get on case management. I ask about this constantly to see how long this is going to last. There does not seem to be any plan. I keep being told it's going to be a short time, but it seems to go on. So it's, you know, it seems like a lose-lose situation. I want to address an issue that was brought up, and I'll try and do it briefly, regarding community board budget, operating budget, because it's clear that most people think of it the way you would a nonprofit budget, which is understandable because that's the background for more people. But a city agency budget is very different. The way it's handled is very different. So I'd like to just briefly as possible let you know, the way it works. So the biggest chunk of money in a community board budget is salaries. In a nonprofit, an executive director would hire, fire, and give raises. However, for a community board, the city charter mandates that only the full board can vote on firing, hiring, and giving raises other than those negotiated with unions. Rent and utilities do not come out of board budget. They're paid directly by the city. We have a few contracts: phone, internet, copy machine. All contracts are negotiated by the city, and then we get to choose. Like for the phones, we were given 2 companies to choose from. After salaries, the biggest chunk of money goes for phones, cell, and internet. And again, this is ordered by the city, not the community board. The city encumbers the money and pays it directly. All our vendors must be city vendors, and they can only be paid on the city financial management system. And it takes 3 staff members to go online in the system and approve each purchase. Most of ours, so we actually spend very little money. Most of it is temp office help on an occasional basis, cleaning supplies, paper towels, paper, that kind of thing. Every 2 to 3 months, the budget is distributed at the exec committee, which I think is the best idea because it's a public meeting and it's captured in the minutes. And every board, just like every city agency, is audited by the controller's office at the end of every year. And there's also a link on the controller's website where you can see what every penny every agency spends. And if anyone's interested in that for the community board or anything else, just send me an email and we'll give you the link. So if there's any further questions, then I'm always happy to answer. Going to the operating, the city budget process, our district needs and priorities that we'll be voting on tonight. Just a brief run through of how we got to where we are now. We finalized our district need statements in the various committees during the summer, and the discussion in the district needs of unmet needs informed our budget priorities. Each committee voted and ranked on priorities for both expense and capital. And then the executive committee collated two lists, the capital and expense, into one list for each to mesh them together, but the committee rankings were never changed. The goal of these priorities is to bring funding to our community. In order to do this, we research potential priorities to make sure they need funding. For capital priorities, this is very easy. A project is either funded or it's not. For expense, it could be more vague. It may be funded but not adequately funded, or may be funded from city council funds while we're advocating for agency funds. The 12 boards, 12 Manhattan boards work together. In July, we submit all these potential items that we're interested in to the agencies. And then we meet with the agencies in September as a group. The agencies also this year have, and last year, have been submitting their answers in writing. Those are all posted on our website, as well as minutes from the meetings. In addition, the board, each board can request district level meetings with an agency to review just Community Board 3 priorities. And we do this with parks every year and some agencies other years. And this is, I'm sorry. The one other tool we have is after we submit our priorities, the city in a community board register comments on all of our requests and may say, we don't recommend funding, or there's not funds for funding, or this is already funded. So this tool is also on our website and is important to check before we put priorities back on. This year we have 27 expense priorities to vote on, but can only submit 25. So the bottom two will drop off and not be submitted after you vote. And that's it, unless there's any questions.
Let me see, Susan, if there are any hands for you.
I don't think so.
I don't see any hands. Okay. All right, thank you, Susan. And let's go on to our committee reports. Okay. Executive committee. We are going to, the district needs is a part of our report. That's it. So we're going to go on to the nominating committee. Jamie, are you here?
Hey, good evening. How are you?
Good.
So last week I sent an email out to everybody asking for their nominations for the roles that we have for the committee, from chair, vice chair, second vice chair, secretary, vice secretary, and treasurer. First of all, thank you to everybody who who sent me a nomination. That was hugely appreciative. I assume at this juncture that I would just tell you who's been nominated and who's been accepted. Is that correct?
Yes, Jamie, yes.
Okay, so nominations for chair are Paul Rangel and Sandra Strathers. For vice chair, we have Eric Diaz. For second vice, Eric Diaz and Larissa Scheinberg, apologies. For second vice chair, we have Tariq Ramos and Kathleen Webster. For Secretary, Larissa Scheinberg. For Vice Secretary, Laura Lugo. And as it stands, we have an open position, I believe, for Treasurer. So those are the nominations. If anybody wishes to put forward another nomination or to nominate themselves, I believe that we have time at the end of the meeting to address that if anybody brings it forward.
Jamie, you have two hands that are raised.
Okay.
I saw Lisa.
I have three.
Oh, actually 3 hands now. Lisa, Robin, and David, in that order.
Okay, so let's do it in that order.
Yes, this is Lisa. I believe I was nominated for first vice. I did not either accept or decline. I'd like to accept.
Ah, wonderful. Okay. Lisa for first vice. Got you. Okay. Great. That's wonderful. Is there anything else?
Not for me.
Robin, go
Okay.
ahead.
Was anyone who was nominated added to the list, or is it based on a majority of names? Because I nominated somebody who you didn't mention.
If hold on a second, Robin. Let me pull this up. The people you nominated, with the exception of Lisa, turned down the nomination. I did not mention those that gracefully declined to accept the nomination.
Okay. Thanks. Just making sure you got my email.
No, of course, absolutely.
Can you just put the list in, Jamie? Can you put the list in the chat, or because it was hard to follow?
Yes, yes, I certainly can. Hold on a second.
Okay,
See if there's
David
a
was
way for me
next.
to do this.
Yeah, I was gonna encourage Jamie to go office by office and ask if there are further nominations and then close them for each office. And do it now rather than like at the end of the meeting.
Understood. Yeah, I can do that. Herman, do you want to go and say something before I do that? I thought I saw your hand up.
I was just going to do what David said, is that I know I was asked if I would seek the position of the treasurer, and I said no, but now I figure, I could participate in the executive committee, so I would put my name in for that position.
For treasurer?
Yes.
Okay. That's great. Thank you, Herman. Okay, so hold on one second, guys. If you give me just a moment, I'm going to find a way to share this sheet with you all. Give me a second. Let's see. Bear with me. This should be fine. Sorry, guys. Give me a second. Wow, you'd think that I would know how to do this better. If it's all right, I'm going to put just the names of the people in the chat rather than sending you a document. Once I close all the nominations, does that work? Or do you want to see it right now as we go along? Linda, what do you think?
We want to see it.
Okay.
Jamie, you are so friendly.
Well,
Jamie, they should make you a co-host in order for you to be able to share the document that you are trying to share. So
I'm sure
Linda,
that they. Hold on one second. Sharing the gender is up to Alicia. Okay, so Alicia, I'm going to email this to you right now.
Yeah,
Hopefully that
okay, that's
works.
fine.
But it's Linda's screen that's showing.
Oh,
so
I
maybe-
wasn't actually trying to say something to you, Jamie. I was replying to something Michelle asked earlier.
Sorry, I apologize. Okay,
No,
so
I
who should I
apologize.
send this to? Because I don't think I have the ability to share this.
We can
If
give
there
you the
aren't-
ability to share.
If there aren't that many names, can you just drop them in the chat? Just to move this?
Yeah, take time to,
Hold on a second, guys. Maybe I'll just share my screen with you. That's probably actually the easiest way to do this, isn't it?
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't think about
That's
that.
fine, Jamie.
you
Thank
can share your screen now. I'll
right.
stop my share.
Sarah. There we go, share screen. Here we go. All right, so we'll go through this as David and Herman suggested, one by one. Current nominations I have for chair are Paul Rangel and Sandra Struthers. Is there anybody else who wishes to put their name forward or somebody else's name forward for the position? Nope, going once, going twice. Sold. Excellent. Vice Chair, I have Lisa, who has accepted in today's meeting. Would anybody else? Oh no, I screwed that up. There's another one there. Vice Chair would be Lisa and Eric Diaz.
Michelle has her hand up. Michelle, is there a reason you have your hand up?
Yeah, Jamie,
the
I just want
fun
to
of me.
suggest maybe not sharing this because it has people that didn't accept the nominations.
Well,
I don't
that's
know if
why
that's
I'm
something that we
trying to,
typically
like,
share with everyone.
this one that I'm looking at right here is only those that did accept it. I just missed
okay.
one person because I know that Lisa wasn't the only one. That's what took
Got
me
it,
a few
great.
minutes.
Okay, thank you.
No, of course. Second vice chair, we have Tariq and Robin, Tariq Ramos and Robin Chattel. Again, apologies if I've made a mistake. Also, Deborah made a very good point, so I appreciate that. Apologies. Secretary Larissa Scheinberg is our only nomination.
Excuse me.
Yes.
I wasn't informed that I was nominated.
I emailed you, Robin. You didn't respond, unless they have the wrong email for you.
Guys, I apologize for the confusion.
Robin, did you
with all
receive
of
my
this.
email?
Oh,
Robin?
Robin, would you?
Obviously, I did not.
I emailed you with a document, and I asked you the question if you were accepting the nomination. I didn't hear anything from you.
Let's well, Robin, rather than putting you on the spot, if you want to send me a message later or privately to discuss that, we certainly can, unless you have an answer right now, which is totally fine. In the meantime, we will move on to secretary. I have Larissa Scheinberg. Would anybody else like to put a nomination forward for the position of secretary?
Jamie, I'm really sorry to interrupt. This is May. I had my
Yeah.
hand raised, but I could have sworn that when you were talking about the second vice chair, I thought you said Tariq and Kay Webster. Did I just hear something wrong, or I heard it wrong?
Hold on.
I mean, Kay is here, so she ought to know.
This is okay, guys. I apologize because I wasn't expecting to share this with people publicly, and because I, like Michelle said, there's a lot of information that people don't necessarily need to see. I may have made a mistake or two in this. Give me 1 second.
Kay Webster's on your list.
Okay.
Yeah, I did. Jamie, maybe we could do this after the other stuff. I mean, so you have time to put it together.
If you want to give me a few minutes, that would be great. That would make my life just a fraction easier.
I think it's a lot to do while everybody's watching, and thank you for your, both the work and also for your attitude, which is fabulous.
Well, that's okay. All right, guys, mute me away and I'm going to stop sharing and I'll figure this out.
Thank you, Jamie. And Lisa, was there something related to this?
Yes, it was the same observation that Kay should have been on the list.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, guys. I definitely, in my hasty editing, made a few mistakes. Give me a few
No
minutes and I'll have
worries,
everything
Jamie.
right.
Everyone is human, and guess what? We'll come back to you. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, Linda, can you put up the share screen again for the agenda? We're going back to our reports. Michelle?
Can we not share the agenda? It's kind of distracting and we can't
I
see
don't
who's
have an
speaking.
agenda in front of me, so if someone would like to, I'll go, I guess I have to go into my emails.
Okay, it's a little distracting for everyone watching. It would be great if we could not, because we all have it. So thank you.
All right, no worries.
Now, Alicia, did you say you don't have the agenda?
Yeah, I have to pull it up off of my email. I don't have it in front of me.
I could tell you that the next committee report is Health, Seniors and Human Services, so we could
Thank
move
you.
on.
Go ahead, Maylee.
Hi, everyone. So, yeah, we had a meeting last month. We, like everyone else, we primarily voted on the district needs and the budget priorities. We also had a presentation from the New York City Racial Justice Commission. So they're sort of like a charter revision commission mandated to, make some revisions to the charter. And it's a 2-year commission. And their mission is to come up with some, they have commissioners, they've had all kinds of meetings and, with different experts, with some members of the public, they have a whole website. And their mission is to come up with some proposals for charter revision that would be put on the ballot in November of 2022. So all of these proposals have the focus of, promoting or, more racial justice and equity in the charter, because a lot of it is in, this lack of equity and lack of racial justice is sort of like ingrained in the charter, governs, many things that we do. So the timeline is tight, we've heard. They will have some proposals or some ideas. I think they've had all these meetings. They will not be having a hearing after they get the proposals together, like the way a charter revision commission does, but there will be a few more public engagement sessions coming up in November. So you can look at their website. It doesn't help. I mean, if the community board wants to take a position on it, well, we can't because it's all too late. The timeline is not right for us. So all I can say is, go look at their website and they have all the information there. That's the end of my report. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't see, okay.
Yeah, May, so you've probably looked at it. Is it proper for you to just give your opinion?
Looked at what?
The report.
I haven't looked at it. There's a interim report and there's a final report, but it doesn't have like we got the report actually after the meeting. So there's an interim report. So I think everyone should just look at it themselves. We at the committee, we didn't talk about the report or look at it or really have an opinion on it because we weren't told, given a lot of substance of what the report would be about, but that there is a report and it covers many areas.
Thank you.
Okay, Anisha.
Just to add more information to that, I work closely with the Racial Justice Commission. There's nothing necessarily to react to yet. The proposed ballot measures have not been actually proposed publicly. This is the first commission of its kind to address racial equity at a city charter level, both the first time for New York City and also for the country. So that's gathering input as to issues of racial equity right now that most impact everyday New Yorkers, and those proposed ballot measures and opportunity for feedback will happen later in November. So there isn't going to be sort of a time where like a community board will be able to react to it in sort of the way that we do the timing of resolutions or hear things. But there will be time for the public to respond. It's just a short window. But those will be released later in November.
Thank you. Any other questions for May? Thank you, May. Next is SLA.
Thanks, Alicia. This month, SLA considered a total of 9 applications. We passed stipulations for all of them, but 2 of the items did not sign their stipulations. So Eric, I sent you changed resolutions. That would be number 4, 6 St. Mark's Place, changed to a denial, and number 9, 135 Division Street, also changed to a denial. We will likely go to the SLA to argue for our stipulations, which we think are quite reasonable and crafted in consideration of what the community came to us with. And then I have some friendly amendments for number 3. Thank you to Lisa, who pointed out these changes. Just in stipulation number 5 for item number 3, it should not have DJs in it. Eric, you have these, I believe, right?
I do.
Okay, I'll just read. I mean, it's not that big. It's really just a mistake. It was a typo. So, and so I had said that it may have a DJ playing a curated playlist at ambient levels, but not entertainment levels. It will not have dancing, live music, DJ. So just need to strike the DJs in the second one because it's does not make sense. So you have those track changes. Does anyone have any objections to that friendly amendment? Okay, hearing none. And then on number 7, again, just a typo on my part. There's a bit of a hanging chat of a phrase in the 5th whereas. Just strike the chair of the community board, number 3, economic development committee chair. I don't know what I was taking notes or something in the resolution. Does anyone have any objections to that change? Alex, is your hand for this one? No, okay. Anyone have any objections to that friendly amendment? Okay. Okay, any questions? Alex, I see your hand, go ahead.
In number 4, your first whereas clause refers to an OP license, and your therefore clause refers to a wine beer.
Okay, thank you. All right, Alex, sorry, Alex. Eric, can you also make that change there? It's the first whereas clause, as Alex said, and it should be whereas JSG St. Mark's Singing LLC doing business as Space X KTV and Lounge is seeking a wine beer license. The reason it said full on premises is because that's what they had asked for originally. So, but I understand it's confusing. So any objections to that friendly amendment?
So we're changing liquor license to wine and beer license? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Alex, do you have another question or comment about it?
If it started out as an OP license, then perhaps you should say they're applying for an OP license and insert a whereas clause about why you're only approving them for a beer wine license.
Do you have a suggested whereas clause for that?
No, I didn't sit through the hearing of the I don't know what your reasons are. I can surmise what they are from the whereas clauses that are in the resolution, but if you can say it in a succinct way, which is just so you had concerns, there was community opposition, the location didn't have a wine beer license, full license before, then you should put that in a whereas clause that precedes the therefore, and it should conclude with consequently we would approve them for a wine beer license and not a full OP. Now, therefore.
Okay, are you making a motion to make that amendment?
No, I think you should correct it. So I'm happy. Do you want me to revise your resolution without having sat through the hearing of the application?
No, not really, but everyone was there on the committee during it and we wrote it together. So I'm okay with it as it is. We're going to go to the SLA to argue this one specifically. So thank you for your comment. Okay, anyone else have any questions?
Yes, I do, Michelle.
Go ahead.
Which two did you say did not agree to SIP?
Number 4 and number 9.
Thank you.
Sure. Lisa, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, even though we're now denying 9, shouldn't the resolution be clear in saying we're denying a wine and beer and cider for number 9? Because it now says that we were approving a full liquor, even though they only asked for a wine and beer.
Oh yeah, thank you for bringing it up. Yeah, so Eric, you have that change too. It's therefore be it resolved that community board number 3 recommends the denial of the application for a wine beer license for Parkside 3 NYC. Thank you, Lisa, for reminding me.
Sure.
Lee, do you have another question or is your hand just up from before?
Wait, Michelle, one more time.
Yeah.
Number 9.
You have it. You have it in the track changes I sent you. Yeah,
Okay,
you're
got
good. Okay, I'm not seeing any other hands. So thank you. And thank you to the committee for sitting through 9 applications in one night. See you next month.
Thank you, Michelle. Linda, what's the next one up? Because now I can't get into my community board.
It's landmarks.
Go ahead.
Okay, the Landmarks Committee considered 2 issues. The first has to do with a proposal that the Landmarks Commission consider a historic district for the area south of 14th Street. The area includes buildings that are in both CB2 and CB3. CB2 has already written a resolution in support, and we wrote one to join them. This is certainly a controversial district in a way, and when we get into the actual nomination with the Landmarks Commission, if they do decide to support it, then we have to look at some of those issues very closely. But this is basically just asking them to start the process. It's an area that has a whole lot of interesting cultural significance historically, of artists, musicians, very famous ones who occupied the buildings there. And the buildings themselves are of significant architectural significance also. So we did agree to support it. The other one is a new term. We used to talk about rooftop additions. We are now talking about vertical enlargements, which seem to be the same thing. So there's a proposal for 45 and 47 2nd Avenue, which are twin tenement buildings that are joined together to add a rooftop addition. We had some concerns about that. We did approve it, but we approved it with conditions. And the conditions were involved with setting it back further from the front of the building so it would be less obvious, and changing the color so that it would be less obvious. And we did approve it with those conditions. Okay, I see Trevor and I see Michelle.
Thank you. I'm not going to ask a question on this item, but just a Zoom question. It is possible to put up the agenda and folks can control their screen, meaning that if the agenda is up and you don't want to see it, you can just push it away, correct?
I don't know. I don't know
Not
the answer.
necessarily, but you can change the size of the shared screen versus all the other people that you can see.
Okay,
If
sorry
you
for
go to
that.
the view button in the upper right, you can adjust what all is going on. Sorry, just thought I'd.
All right, Linda, thank you. Michelle, was there a
Michelle had
question?
a question. Trevor, could
Yeah.
you raise your hand?
Okay, I'm gonna go. All right. Well, I really want to thank the Landmarks Committee for their work on this. I personally am going to vote no on number 2 because it's an extremely sweeping proposal for 200 buildings. It's the last part of the village that's not landmarked. We are in a historic housing crisis. I don't understand why we would even support any steps towards landmarking that wide swath of land in Manhattan, which is extremely close to transportation, has great access to schools and everything else, and parks and all the wonderful things where people want to live. Landmarking makes it really hard, or sorry, excuse me, historic districts, which would landmark all of the parts of all the buildings within that district, makes it very difficult to build new housing, any kind of housing, especially affordable housing, because it requires so many steps to get new housing built. So I'm personally going to vote no on this one. And I talked to Linda about it this weekend, and I felt very educated about landmarking in general. But while I certainly support the idea of landmarking actually historic district buildings, like we never should have knocked down Penn Station, for example, this just seems really, really broad. And of course, village preservation has a very specific mandate, and it's to preserve the village. But I just don't see how we could support that, especially given I don't even know if any CV3 members even live in that portion of the district. So I thank you, and thank you, Linda and the committee, for your work.
And thank you for your discussion, because you are elucidating exactly what the issues are. And, you know, that's all up for discussion as we move through the process. But I think it's well worth taking a look at and asking the LPC to take a look at it. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Linda. I'm sorry. I
Land use is
literally am
next.
having difficulty with my
It's
email.
all right, don't worry about it. Land use is next.
Land use.
Hi. So land use did not pass any resolution other than budget priorities. But I have 2 things to report. The first thing is the 2 bridges rezoning application. So Department of City Planning has finally accepted our worst case scenarios, which is a major step of the application. And the next step is to prepare an environmental assessment study. The co-applicants have some funding to do that, and is in the process of looking for a vendor. And separately, there are some underwater parklands outside of the 2. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so there are some underwater parklands outside of the 2 bridges area. And previously, the board presidents had convened a meeting with some agencies, such as parks, such as DCPs, to protect the parkland, to protect the land from development. So we just need to follow up with the board president's office to see if they has taken any action, or if there's anything can be done, which we will report back to the committee at the November meeting. I'm not sure if Brian is still here. If yes, maybe just to give Brian a heads up that we're going to reach out to your office for that. And the second thing to report is from the NYCHA subcommittee. So NYCHA has presented to us their Campus Plaza number 2 PET conversion plan, which would bring the building to become a project-based Section 8 housing program. Campus Plaza 1 was already converted under a similar program a few years ago. And this proposal would allow NYCHA to access new capital fundings from federal to complete their repair projects. And under the PET conversion, NYCHA would procure a private entity to enter into a ground lease and manage the building. And NYCHA has also met with the Campus Plaza TA to discuss the matter. And NYCHA also disclosed to us that they are in a preliminary talk with nearby developer about transferring the air rights of their building, but they also emphasize that this is in the very beginning stage, nothing really decided yet. And that's all for me.
And transportation is next.
Thank you. Paul, go ahead.
There's no questions for Jackie. I don't know if you.
No, I don't see any hands for Jackie.
Okay. All right, transportation, we had 3 resolutions we considered. UA3, a nonprofit organization, has been helping with food distribution. They came to us in September for a loading zone. We were able to clear some stuff up and they came back to us in October, so that we approved a loading zone for them in front of 384 Grant Street. It's a 40-foot loading zone in the interim until the M14 busway goes under its changes. Then there might be a new loading zone scheduled for them. Our Lady of Sorrows also came. They requested a no parking sign to be changed to a no standing sign. They've been, as you know, they're on Pitt Street. Their church is on Pitt, and they have a lot of funerals considering COVID and everything like that, a lot of services, and a lot of cars are being parked there, making it very difficult for funeral services and the hearses to come in, and they had to like maneuver moving the caskets around and different things like that. That made it very, very difficult for services to move on. So we approved that sign to hopefully help them out from no parking to no standing. Chadas also came with a block party application for November 6th, which we also approved. Any questions or comments? Thank you.
Thank you.
Economic development.
Economic development, Anisha.
Hi, everyone. We had one resolution and it was a joint item with transportation. It was regarding sanitation services and asking the Lower East Side Partnership, SBS, and the Department of Sanitation to increase the Lower East Side Partnership's ability to provide more comprehensive sanitation services in an area, in their existing service area. And they'll, explore that and come back to us with a proposal of what that could look like. Olympia, you have your hand up.
Yes, so you actually just kind of answered my question, but I want to understand it because I didn't read it in the resolution. So this is not going to be extending their area of services, because that would entail other issues too for a business improvement district. So what are you exactly extending?
So it won't be an extension of the service area. The service area sort of encompasses like the nightlife mitigation area, a lot of the areas that are the most problematic. They're going to be exploring how to implement new sanitation practices, including like motorized trash pickup, maybe coordinating trash pickup with all the commercial carting for all the businesses. I think they presented some of the ideas that they're working on, and they will come back to the committee with a more robust proposal of how to actually effectuate it.
Great, just to be sure, because I didn't want them to extend their area, or at least for us to vouch for them as opposed to a community organization or something. Okay.
That was not brought to us. If that is, it would be in the future. Are there any other questions on the resolution?
I don't see any hands, Anisha.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Linda, what's next?
Economic development. Wait a minute. Did I get you out of order? No. Oh, we did the joint
They
thing.
had a joint, yeah.
So there's no more economic development, right, Anisha?
No.
Nothing else.
Parks.
Parks. Go ahead, Trevor.
I won't take as much time as our meeting did, which was a record 4.5 hours, but I will go through the 3 resolutions briefly on what we discussed. We memorialized the community hours from the Kinley GOP playground. There were some issues with keys and who's responsible for opening. If you read the resolution, we're hopeful that this will take care of who's responsible for opening the park and closing and who can use it. Little Flower Playground. There's a renovation going on there will be a renovation and reconstruction of that playground. It's nice to have the CPI funds because the majority of the CPI money from Manhattan is going to our area. So we've seen a number of parks get substantial upgrades. We also did a resolution to support the installation of a new water source for the 6BC Botanical Garden. They're getting water service in that particular park. Of note, there were two things. ESCR has started construction. I think people kind of forget they've started construction on the whole months ago with the uptown portion, but our area is already under construction. We will see a substantial presentation at next month's Parks meeting on the phased construction. What parts will be closed, what parts will be open. Another thing we learned today from the mayor's press conference and from Gail had mentioned earlier in her report that the Seaport Five-Eye area is getting an additional 150 million. Part of that 150 million will go to an area underneath the Brooklyn Bridge. That may or may not affect the BMCR, which is the Brooklyn Montgomery Coastal Resiliency Project, because that is supposed to start soon. And the Brooklyn Bridge Esplanade project, which has already started, is now being put on pause. So we're going to discuss that at next month's meeting. I see one question. I see two questions. Do you want me to take them or you want me to?
Oh, go ahead, Trevor, take the questions.
I think I saw Richard first.
Hi, Trevor. On your McKinley item, historically, the McKinley playground it is adjacent to Village View, the first houses from NYCHA, and the private residence immediately to the east. And those organizations, less Village View, but the other two organizations have participated in keeping the area open with the keys, as your material suggests. I'd like to ask that you keep an eye on that and just make sure that the keys are equitably distributed.
Thank you. And we did spend substantial time on this issue, and quite a number of people attended this meeting. I think Susan has her hand raised and she could probably go into more detail. Susan?
So many years ago, different groups had keys, including me. I don't think that's happened for many, many years, though. I think right now it is the school and parks, but which is one of the reasons that we wanted to memorialize that it had to be open at 2:45 every day.
Thank you. Olympia?
Thank you. So, regarding ESCR, obviously, every month we get these members of the public asking questions, some of them misinformed, some of them meaningful. And like many other community board members, I'm constantly stopped about this issue. So I think we should consider organizing a meeting where we inform people, because a lot of them obviously hadn't followed all the ULURPs and all the stuff that we've been doing for years. And I think, like you as the chair of the Parks Committee, with our current chair or future chair, because I don't know when are we voting, fundamentally, I think we should schedule this soon, because there is a lot of panic going on around and misinformation. And I think it's worth having also some answers about here's where we stand, here's what we can do, what we cannot do, just to stop this inundation of misinformation.
I don't know if,
I
don't know if we're going to be able to stop the amount of misinformation. I think that just doesn't exist for this particular project. I think it exists at a local, regional, and national level, but I do hear what you're saying. Perhaps a discussion needs to go with the city, who is responsible for this project, and city agencies. It frustrates me when I hear people say that they're just finding out about the park being closed and they're involved, but they didn't know anything about it until to a parade or something. But that's just the way things are. But I do hear you, and I'm going to think about the best way to do that, whether it involves a CB3 meeting or whether the city agencies need to sponsor that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Trevor. Linda?
Oh, sorry. I zoned out. What was next?
After parks,
I think we're up to district needs statement.
Yes, that's right.
Can
We
can we
are.
look at the election? Is that ready yet? Or, I mean,
Oh, yes.
nominations?
Let's go back to our nominating committee chair, Jamie.
Hey,
How's it
guys.
looking?
Oh, looking great. Pretty sure I've done a fantastic job with this. Hold on. Let me see. Do I have sharing capabilities again?
You still do.
Okay, hold on a second. All right. Let's see if I can't do this very quickly. Here we go. Okay, round two. Nominations for chair that have accepted. We have Paul Rangel and Sandra Struthers. At this juncture, would anybody else like to nominate themselves, or I suppose anybody else? Nope. Okay, excellent. Going on to the second one, we have for vice chair, Eric Diaz and Lisa Kaplan. Same question to the floor. Would anybody like to put forward an additional nomination, a nominee? I take that as a no. Thank you. Second vice chair. Hold 1 second, please. Robin was kind enough to take my call during this and kindly said no. So I apologize for that confusion. Second vice chair, we have Tariq Ramos and Kay Webster. Anybody wish to add their name or anybody else's name? Okay. Secretary, solo candidate of Larissa Scheinberg. Any extras for this one? And okay, Vice Secretary, we have Laura Lugo. Please speak now if you wish to add another nominee. Closing out Vice Secretary, and Herman coming in at the very last minute. Thank you very much. To round out Treasurer position. Again, if anybody wishes to step forward in this one, now is your chance. All right, great. So these are the nominees. I'm sure I'll send these to Linda, who will distribute them as in where is necessary. We will be voting in November. Is there anything else that you need from me?
You should mention that every board member will receive an email notifying them officially of the November election, probably a week or so before. And also that you'll receive an email, perhaps the same one, perhaps a different one, with the statements of each candidate.
Oh, yes, that's right. I also believe that there will be a brief opportunity for each candidate to speak at the November meeting, unless I'm mistaken.
Correct.
Wonderful.
So
okay, and yes, how are you?
Good. My question is just because last year we had some problems with the election, and then everybody was basically unelected or something. One of the people you mentioned, I think, is a new member. Maybe they joined during the pandemic, so I hadn't had the pleasure of meeting them, Laura Lugo. And I'm wondering, the bylaws say that if somebody is a new member, in order for them to candidate for the executive, they need to have served full year, something like that. Just making sure that we're not going to elect someone again that is not electable or something.
No, it's just committee chairs.
Just committee chairs, not executive committee, Susan? Great.
I believe.
There we go. Yeah, we will, I imagine we'll be doing digital voting as well, and I will do my best to send out detailed specific instructions as to how that will work prior to the voting, so everybody is confident and comfortable with it. That's all I got. If anybody else has anything they need from me, let me know.
Thank you, Jamie. I think you're doing a great job.
Thank you. And thank you so much to my committee who did a lot of hand-holding and moral support. So thank you.
Yeah, you did a great job, Jamie. You hardly needed hand-holding.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. It's that magic hour. Hopefully this does not take us an hour to get through. Okay.
So Jamie, you need to stop your shares.
Yeah, very good idea.
Lisa Kaplan, your hand is up for.
Are we now discussing district needs statement?
That's where we're going now.
Okay, should I speak to that?
Okay, if you'd like to, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not substantive comments, and I'll let Susan tell me whether I should go through them, but I read the district's needs statement carefully this afternoon and found 4 or 5 things, I think, that were just mistakes that Susan has already reviewed. And I think she's agreed that they are mistakes and need to be changed. So if I don't have to go through them and we can just agree that she'll move a certain thing to a different section and correct the east-west, and I can't remember what the other one was, but that kind of thing, then I just like those things to be done to make the statement, just correct mistakes in the statement, but not substantive.
Thank you, Lisa. Yes, that is correct. That's what I made the statement in my report, that hopefully that's what we're doing here. So we're not here 50,000 hours trying to reinvent the wheel, and we don't need to do that. If everyone had an opportunity to do what you did, Lisa, was to review the ranking that was put in place. This is to approve the ranking of the capital expense budget and priorities, and to amend by that as amended by the executive committee. So if there's any questions, or if you'd like to go over it, do we need to go through?
Wait a minute, I'm confused now. Alicia, are we talking just about the budget priorities, or are we talking about the district needs statement?
Budget priorities right now, and then we'll go into the budget priorities, and then we'll go into the ranking. How about that?
I don't understand. The ranking is the budget priorities, correct? And the district needs statement is a narrative.
Yes, that's correct. I'm sorry.
So do we need to vote on the district needs?
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Go ahead, Trevor.
I just want to clarify what Lisa is asking. I think Lisa is saying that she has made some changes, which are mostly comments and errors that do not change the essence of the district needs itself. And correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, you're asking if we can just accept them as they are after talking with Susan, or do we need to go through every single error which might correct east, west, or some street or some placement in the district needs?
Precisely my question. Yes, Trevor.
Susan, what was the answer?
David,
to
can you
that?
answer that?
I'm so sorry, I wasn't listening.
I mistook here David Adams for
Okay, David.
It's a common error.
What Lisa, can you explain again? You have raised the issue, so I want you to explain again.
Okay, I sent this afternoon to Susan, track changes for a handful of issues that were not substantive changes to the document, but were essentially typos and boo-boos about where something was placed, the definition of a district and the east or west borders were incorrect, et cetera, that kind of thing. They are not substantive changes. My question is, can Susan just change those? She's amenable to doing that. Or do we have to go through them one by one?
Is that a question to me? I'd say that we could just say, these are fine. Or if someone could maybe share a text version of them, if someone really wants to see it. Are there any objections is the real question.
I was about to move to adopt whatever draft Lisa sent over to whomever and just call it.
I'm not sure we need to adopt them. They're just correction. I mean, they're just minor, making things correct. They're not changing anything.
Olympia, your hand is up.
Yeah, just put it up. But David Adams has had his hand up for a while. I don't know if he got his chance.
He spoke, Olympia. He said something. But David, do you have more to say?
I had another comment. That was just a side on the confusion on Trevor's part. Just a simple question, Susan. I wanted to ask Susan. I know the census reports we said you're supposed to be careful about have been compared to what we were putting into our reports. If someone did that.
What was that?
The new census reports, do you have any information from them that might be relevant to our...
Not available yet. I've been asking for it. It's not available yet.
Okay, thank you. I know we got memos on it, so.
Yes, I tried. I tried.
Thank you. Bye.
So the reason I had my hand up is because, again, for the open meeting law, we cannot move to accept something that somebody emailed to somebody. But I think if they're just typos, that's not an issue. If there is anything that is slightly more substantive, it's very simple. Since it's track changes, you just share your screen and you share it with everybody. We see the track changes. It's obvious that it was like 2, 3, northwest, whatever corrections, and we just move to accept it. But I don't feel comfortable for us moving to accept emails.
Okay. Who's going to screen share?
There are also 2 hands up.
What did we?
David, I see your hand, and then Susan.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't make a decision yet that I'm aware of, but I'm going to say, just again, these are not making any substance. It's not changing anything. Traditionally, we've always had people like Lisa was kind enough and very impressively read the whole thing right before the meeting to make these. Traditionally, we always had people do a fresh eye afterward. And again, they're just corrections.
Susan, how about Olympia, since you need to see it before you can vote on it, you get Lisa to send it over to you. Lisa, can you send that over to Olympia? So
that's an objection. Sorry. She objected. We need to present them on the screen, and it should be a simple thing to do.
Okay, so Lisa, can you share your screen?
And to be clear, it's
if
not
you give
for
me permission, I can. Yes.
Okay,
hold on.
Linda, can you give her?
permission.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Lisa.
Here's the first one. The Village Alliance should be in the section above. It's not part of our community continues to be burdened with high blah, blah, blah. It's the previous section. Lists all the bids in the district. should be here.
Sorry, is there gonna be a track changes version that we can see, or is this how we're gonna go through it? 'Cause this is a little confusing.
Oh, God.
This paragraph here is a repeat of the paragraph here and should be removed. This number has an extra 6 in it. When you add up to all these numbers, it essentially comes to this number if you take out the 6 and you use 35370. And those are the, oh, and the other one is
The land
the
use.
Lower
plan.
East Side Historic District, north of Grand Street, south of Delancey Street, west of Essex Street, and east of Forsyth Street. Those are the essential ones. There's a couple of places where it says CB3 instead of CD3. And ideally that should be consistent, but that's less significant. That's it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thanks, Lisa. Okay,
So
David,
maybe Olympia wants to withdraw her objection now?
Well, no, she just wanted it to be presented.
Yeah,
Now,
right. Okay,
does
so
anyone
now,
object to these changes? If not, we will adopt them.
is there a motion? Was that the motion, David?
That is the vote. Are there any objections to those amendments? If there are none, it is adopted.
The whole statement is adopted.
No. Your amendments to the statement. There may be other amendments.
Okay, are there any other amendments that need to be made? As seeing none, we can adapt these amendments into the total statement.
All right, can I receive those so I can put that in, or is it already done?
Eric, I can put those in. Lisa sent them to me. I can put them in tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Now what's next? Let's see.
Now it's the budget priorities.
Okay, now we go to the budget priorities.
Would you like me to share my screen, and which one do you want to start with?
Capital.
Capital, yeah.
It's easier.
Yes.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Susan?
Capital is
Capital,
easier.
okay.
Yep.
We just want to read them and see whether there are any objections.
Do we need to read all of them? I don't think so.
Wait, I see, I'm sorry. I didn't see these when they were reformatted. I see a mistake. It's number 4. Number 4 is, I'm sorry, number 6 isn't really number 6. It's just the explanation for it. So the numbers are going to be, I'll fix it later, but the numbers are going to be off by 1.
Installation of.
Olympia has her hand up.
Okay, Olympia, go ahead.
Alisa, I had a question. When you introduced this subject at the beginning of the meeting, you said that mainly the one job we need to do tonight is eliminate 2 items because maximum.
In not in the capital, in the expense.
That's what I want to clarify. Cool, thank you.
Susan, number 8, what is that? Funding is needed for new fencing and installation of on.
Oh, it's water. I'm sorry, it looks like.
Got a little typo there.
Yeah, it's the same one from last year, is basically funding for fencing, water, and, you know, other needs like that for community gardens.
It just should read on-site water.
And the S is missing.
Okay.
This is a PDF, so I'm not trying to correct anything as we go. I'll leave that.
No,
to
you don't need to do that.
Susan, yeah.
If we.
Anybody wants me to stop, just holler.
That's it.
That's it for capital.
Okay. Are there any? Okay, Susan, I know we were good with this one. We just needed to have everyone look it over from it.
Okay, so want to go to the expense?
Yes, please.
Now, like I said, on this one,
This is the one
as
we need to
Olympia
eliminate too.
said, we can only submit 25. There are 27. So the bottom two, since the committees decided on the ranking, the bottom two, whatever the bottom two are, will fall off.
The current bottom two.
Yeah.
It's in 27.
26 and 27, right?
Oh, back up to the top here. Okay. More slowly. I think it's really a matter at this point of deciding whether you want to change any of these priorities if you don't like the two that are falling off.
Well, there were reasons given at the committee for those two to be the bottom
I
two.
understand.
I mean, Susan, you know, from talking with the other district managers, like the RAD program is something that the other community boards are going to ask funding for.
So the RAD issues are in there. This is just one, this is just about the inspectors. And number 26 is a pilot program still in 3 areas in Harlem.
So I move to accept removing 26 and 27.
Can I first ask something about 26? Does anybody know the efficacy of that program? Because we really have an epidemic of troubled folks here.
Susan, you have more information about that program.
Yes, so 2 things. Providers are saying that when it works, you know, when we do get the response from these other responders, that the program it is better than having police response. However, there seems to be a lot of kinks to work out because too many of the calls are still going to the police. It is in 3 areas in Harlem right now. I expect the program is going to expand and improve. And, you know, we can still certainly in the future still advocate for it to come down. But at this point, it's because, you know, it's not, we want to advocate for it, but it's not in a state where it can come down, be expanded to Lower East Side now anyway.
Can I ask one more question in terms of
Sure.
efficacy, but that has to do with PEP, which I hear it hasn't worked that well in my park. So, I mean, in Sarah Roosevelt. But
What hasn't worked? This program isn't in Sarah Roosevelt.
no, I'm talking about PEP now, sorry. I noticed PEP is up here in a little further up, additional parks enforcement police. I mean, they're stationed in Sarah Roosevelt. Anyway, I just wondered if what the efficacy of PEP has been in this district, and maybe other people have had a different experience.
I agree with you as far as the issues that you're talking about. However, I think we don't have enough PEP. There are a lot of issues where PEP is needed. We certainly in Tompkins Square Park need more, and people are asking for more PEP.
Okay, I mean, the building that they're in, that's where the Grubhub delivery man was murdered, so.
Yeah, I don't think that those are the issues where they're very good. And I think the regular police have to deal with those issues.
Thank you.
Trevor has his hand up.
Okay, go ahead, Trevor.
No, I'm just wondering for procedure wise, are we waiting for a motion to?
Yeah, so we
approve
just
this?
need a motion to approve the ranking of the capital and the expense budget priorities as amended by the executive committee.
There wasn't any amendment.
Okay.
Oh, it's just I'm sorry, you dropped the last two. Could you want to include the district needs in the same vote?
Sure, I think that would be great.
So I'm motioning to adopt district needs, capital priorities, and expense.
Thank you, Trevor.
And I want to second it.
Thank you, Josie. Any objections? Any abstentions? Okay, motion carried. So we will vote tonight, everything all in one. All right, and I do believe we are ready for a roll call vote.
Okay, 1 second. First one. David Adams.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay. Yaron Altman.
Yes, present not voting on transportation 3 and 4, and budget priorities and district needs because I work for city DOT.
Okay, thank you. Jesse Beck.
Yes, no on landmarks number 2.
No. Okay, thank you. Lee Berman.
Yes.
Carlin Chan. Carlin?
Where did Carlin go? Okay, go ahead. Keep going, Eric.
Jonathan Chu. Jonathan Chu? Okay. David Crane.
Yes, but no on landmarks 2.
No on landmarks. Okay. Rick Diaz. Yes. Alistair Economakis. Absent. Amy Felber. Amy?
Amy.
Yes, no on landmarks 2.
No. Shirley Fennessy. Shirley? Okay. Ryan Gilliam.
Yes.
Thank you. Deborah Glass. Deborah Glass. Andrea Gordillo. Andrea Gordillo. Okay. Danielle Hernandez.
Yes.
Okay. Herman Hewitt.
Yes.
All right. Trevor Holland.
Yes, and I'm gonna abstain on landmarks too, because I didn't read it. So.
Thank you. Linda Jones.
Yes.
All right. Valentina Jones.
Yes, abstain on landmarks too.
Landmark number 2.
You know, can I just ask a question about that? Did the preservation people speak on that? All right, never mind. Abstain.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Tatiana Jorio. Tatiana? Lisa Kaplan.
Yes.
All right. Olympia Kazi.
Yes.
All right. Jeanette Kim.
Yes, but no on landmarks too. Thanks.
Michelle Cooper Smith.
Yes, but no on landmarks too. Thank you.
This guy. Thank you. May Lee.
Yes on all, but I'll abstain on landmarks too. And also I would like to let you know that Deborah Glass and Shirley Fennessy are still signed into the call. And they're on mute as well.
Okay.
Thanks. Yep, I'm here.
Deborah Glass? Okay. Yes. Okay. Some country. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor.
Wendy Lee.
Yes, but no on landmarks too. Oh, hello?
No,
Yep.
I got
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Alicia Lewis Coleman.
Yes and no to landmarks number 2. David Adams has his hand up and I don't know why. David?
Don't take
I
any
wanna
comments
change-
during a vote. No,
Right,
no, 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 no.
I know. I'm sorry. I just wanted to know if there was a technical issue.
Want to change the vote?
You,
You want to change the
We'll do
vote?
that at the end.
yeah, we'll
Okay.
pick that up at the
I'll
end.
wait for the end. Thank you.
David Louis.
Yes, and no on landmark 2.
Landmark number 2. Laura Lugo.
Yes, and abstain on landmark number 2.
Landmark number 2. Okay, thank you. Ellen Liu. They can't see that. Michael Marino. Okay. Alexandra Militano.
Yes.
Michael Perlis.
Yes, and no on landmarks too. Thanks.
Okay. Tariq Ramos. Tariq Ramos. Paul Rangel.
Yes, but no on landmarks too.
Maris Reyes.
Yes, but abstain on landmarks number 2.
Richard Ropiak.
Yes, but no on landmarks number 2.
Thomas Rosa. Absent. Robin Chattel. Absent.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Got you, Robin. Heidi Schmidt.
Yes, and no on landmarks number 2.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Larissa Scheinberg,
She's not here.
Anisha Stephen,
Yes, but no on landmarks number 2.
Sandra Strother,
Sandra stepped off.
Daniel Now,
Yes, present, not voting on parks 4, 5, 6, and 7. I work for the city parks department.
thank you. Josephine Velez,
Yes, and no on landmarks too.
landmarks. Okay, thank you. Troy Velez,
Yes.
okay. Rodney Washington,
Yes, and no on landmarks too.
got it. Kathleen Webster,
Yes.
okay. Jackie Wong,
Yes.
Hello?
and Ricky Wong.
David Adams. Oh, so-
Ricky Wong, absent. Okay, that's the roll call.
That finished the roll call?
Yes, David, now go ahead.
I want to abstain on landmarks too.
Okay, abstain, landmarks, number 2.
And
Thank you.
come back to me. This is Deborah.
Go ahead, Deborah.
So I'm voting yes and abstain on landmarks too.
Abstain, on landmark, number 2.
Did Shirley ever come back? I didn't see Shirley come back. Okay. Any old business? Eric, you want to give us the count for the vote?
Okay. Ten, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20.
Can I ask everyone to mute except for Eric, please?
6. So I have 15 no's for landmarks number 2 and 6 abstains from landmarks number 2. That comes out to 21 for landmarks number 2. And the total number of people present. Eight, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Michelle, your hand is up.
I had 7 abstentions for that one.
2, 3, 4. All right, let me do one more count. Well, first let me finish the attendance here. Got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so we have 37 present. And now I'm gonna do a recount. Two, 3, 4, 6, 1. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got 6 abstentions. I don't have 7.
Call out the number you counted of yes, no, and abstain. Those are the 3 numbers we need.
We got 6 abstains. We got 15 no's. And then let me do the yeses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 15.
Susan, your hand is up.
17. I have 17 yeses.
So my question is procedural, since it didn't pass. We don't send anything, correct? We just note that it didn't pass. Is that correct?
I believe that's right, Susan.
Okay, thank you.
So I have 15 no's, 6 abstained, and 17 yeses.
What's the majority? How does Susan explain the passing number?
You need the majority of those present to pass. And, you add the abstain and the no's together.
So abstentions are effectively no's.
Right. Yeah.
So it's 21 that did not vote for it and 17 that did.
Yeah. Yep.
So
That's the
people who don't know that, if you abstain, you're voting no.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I really am, to be honest. I mean, I'm glad everyone votes how they vote. I'm just surprised.
Motion to adjourn.
Are we commenting on the vote, or are you commenting on your surprise at how we count votes the way we've always counted them?
Yeah, the surprise how I forgot that abstains or no's, I guess. So.
Okay, well, it's only been that since the city charter was first written.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a motion on the floor to adjourn. I second it. All in favor?
Yeah, is there any, I asked, was there any old business? I guess not. Any new business? Okay, now we'll have a motion to adjourn. Richard?
Motion to adjourn.
Without objection, right?
Without objection. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.
I'm going into the rain.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, Linda. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Susan. Thank you.
Jamie. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you, Jamie. Bye.
Thanks, guys.